What's up, everybody? How you doing tonight? I hope you are doing well. Awesome, BFA. That's great. I'm envious. New PC is always a great feeling. All right, we're going to be doing some more game dev tonight. With that lovely tutorial by Tom. So I'm just going to bring down the music a wee bit. Let's pop on over here. So, where we left off was having created a few weapons, or even the ability to have different weapons, which is still on the old shotgun. And I think I can do this on the fly, but yeah, I can do that. So this is the Uzi. And they have different accuracy values. So this is the rifle. Very accurate. Slower shot. It's cool. It's lovely stuff. I'm really getting into this, man. I just need to, I need to keep learning. I need to keep learning things. I'm gonna probably have the training wheels on for a while. I've been trying to decide on a color scheme. I downloaded another one called like EPS. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, EPS is what I'm on right now. I don't really like light themes. Oh god, oh Jesus. Oh, it burns. It burns me. Abyss looks pretty cool, but it's pretty bold. Excuse me, Dave. This is a Christian stream. Yeah, yeah. That's how Tom starts his every recording. I think this is the default that we were on. No, the one that says default dark would be the one that we were on. This one's okay, but there was something about like there's something about it that it doesn't really differentiate. This one's interesting because it seems like it has good differentiation between different things, but I'm not a big fan of the colors. Like a lot of stuff is so muted. It feels perhaps too muted. Oh, whoop. Wrong thing. Kimby's all right. I'm not a big fan of brown, though. I like Monokai. It's pretty good. The dimmed isn't bad either. Red is insane, and I don't... This doesn't work for me. This is like... I'm a vampire programming from the crypt. Solarized is like the classic, which I still find very appealing. Don't care for this one too much. The main work area is too bright for me. And I mean, this is fine, I guess, but it kind of seems the same to me as like the default dark. So I don't know. I feel like Tom's had better differentiation between most things. True Geek, thank you for 33 months. Material theme? Oh, that says marketplace. One Dark Pro. Okay. Wow. 3.5 million downloads. Wait, why is there 2 of them? Huh? I don't know. Well, okay. Whatever. This does look nice. Well, it doesn't hurt to install it. Let's give that one a looky-loo, eh? It's not bad. See, one thing that I don't love so far is this situation here where, like, I feel like there should be some differentiation from, like, sub-methods. Yeah, red variables is a little rough. I want more differentiation. There's differentiation in Visual Studio Bloated Edition. I don't see why it can't happen here, though. Like this other one that I... God damn it, I did it again. That I downloaded, this one does. See? I just don't love the color scheme. I guess I'll just have to learn to live with it unless there's other ones that have this level. I was impressed with how they presented it, too. Let me show you. They had a whole diagram of, like, I thought this through really hard. Yeah, right here. Look at this thing. Specifically a C-sharp theme for Unity. Look at this. Adjective, subject, verb, noun. This is quite nice. I wish I liked the color choices. Wait, they kind of feel different than what's presented. Hmm. Hmm. Darkula is not pre-installed. Mm. Meh. You know, I have trouble settling on these usually. It's a common problem for me. Well, let's just roll with this for now. I'll see how I like it.
Yes.
I'm just leaning toward it because it has
While true, sub plus plus.
specific, it has the specific stuff for separating things more, which was really what I was looking for. And this is the only one that's really offering it for me, so I'm gonna try it out. Candor, thank you for 81 months. Appreciate that. All right. Let's have Tom bring us up to speed.
Right. So last time we started making a weapon system, and it's not quite done yet. There's a couple things I want to add. So I actually wrote a list of things that we might do in the near future. This is not going to be a completely accurate list of all the episodes we'll do in the order we'll do them.
Is Tom quiet?
Today I want to let us collect and switch weapons. So right now, like all the weapons on the player all the time, we have to manually in the editor disable or drag the right one to the right slot.
Or can you hear him all right?
We've got to have an actual button for that. And then have them lying around on the floor.
Okay, sorry, let me
rephrase.
rephrase. Is he too quiet?
That, I don't know if I'll stick to them, but when I come to practice doing episodes on these things, we'll find out whether they're actually going to happen or not. But I wrote this list partly because sound and feel is this thing that's always on my mind when we look at our game, because it's really lacking in those departments, and those are pretty important. But I'm also feeling like maybe it's better to get the shape of the game in there. Like, what kind of game is it? Is it a stealth game? Is it an action game? How do those two things interplay if they do? What's your objective?
Let me know how that is.
Is what we've made level 1, or is this just a test chamber and the levels look totally different, that kind of thing? And feel is arguably sort of like less fundamental than that, but it's still really important. So it's among the next 5 things I want to do. That's all I can say about it. First order of business is last time I had a bug that I was curious about. I'll show it to you again. And I rather than actually try to find it, but I couldn't.
The
so
spread, the like tilting spread thing.
Of shotgun fire seem to have a bias to them. If some of them go right, they all go right, and if they're all sort of in a group, but the groups themselves vary. And I couldn't figure out what that was, but commenter Mislav Pozek figured it out, and probably other people did too, but Mislav was the first one I saw, so thank you, Mislav. It's because our weapon script, which I'll open now, it's one of those bugs where a nice bug, because as soon as someone tells you what the problem is, like, oh yeah, of course. It makes immediate sense. It's proper stupid.
Oh, I'm excited.
There are others, hopefully this will be rare, but there are times when a bug takes you days to fix, and when you fix it, you're like, I still don't really know why that was happening. Like, I know what I had to change to fix it, but I don't know why.
Those are the worst.
Why it's going wrong, and stuff like that. So our issue is, the reason you're seeing a bias in each batch of bullets is that I was getting hung up on this random range thing. Like, that's definitely, each time we're definitely getting a new range of inaccuracy. So one iteration can't influence the next one, right? Well, it can, because what are we adding that randomness onto? We're adding onto target position. Target position is something that gets passed into this function. Remember, it's player. When player calls the fire script, they say where we want to fire, and it's the cursor position. Weapon takes that as an argument, but it's not sort of fixed in stone. When you take something as an argument, it's really just like declaring a variable. If I just, if I just wrote, it's going to hate me for doing this, but if I just wrote vector 3 target position up here, we've defined a variable. It's almost the same thing. Like, we've declared a variable, we can now change it. And that is exactly what I've done without realizing it, is I'm changing target position each loop. It gets, if random range ended up being, 1, 1, we've added 1 to the X and Z coordinates of target position. Next time round, it's starting from that. It's already offset by 1, and then we're adding our randomness on top. So that explains exactly what we're seeing, which is if the first ones all tend to sort of veer towards the X direction, the subsequent ones also tend to cluster around X. They
So
don't
that's
necessarily
why
all
this
go
wasn't,
in X positive.
even though it was
Some go a
calculating
bit
new one
further,
each
but they're
time,
all kind of in a group, and the group itself shows
this
like
was carrying it through.
overall bias. So fix is really easy. We just we find our accuracy here. Yeah, we want target position is used here to check distance. We want to, that's correct. We do want to reference the real target position, but then rather than modify target position, we want to declare a new vector 3 where we'll call it maybe inaccurate position.
Excuse me, what?
And it will start out as being just target position, and then we'll modify this.
Weird.
And shoot the bullet there. So that's just let's add the randomness to inaccurate position rather than target position, and then this line new bullet transform.look at, that's the one that actually aims the bullet. It says, hey, you point this direction, and then we let go and the bullet handles its own velocity, and we want to shoot at the inaccurate position. So yeah, all I'm doing there is I'm just each loop. So really the source of my confusion on this, and I'll dig into it because maybe you will suffer the same confusion. I've been doing this a while and it still trips me up. I know perfectly well what a loop is. I know that this is running this code, X times or whatever, however many iteration count is. But I think I missed this bug because in a way that I wouldn't have if you just took this code and just pasted it like that many times. I think if I was looking at that for the bug, it'd be like, oh yeah, target position is being changed here, then it's being changed here, then it's being changed here, and it never gets reset. When it's a loop, it's a little bit less plain. It's a little bit less obvious that that target position is getting set there.
I need to
there, sort of.
He kept that one change that he did. The layers. He did. He added a layer. Right? How do you get out of this? Done that. Okay. So that took me to layers, but now I need to go back to the bullet. Okay, and then set it to bullets. And then project settings. Physics. Bullet. Okay, and then now bullets shouldn't collide. Okay, and is mine now? Okay. I need more stuff happening to really see it. Let's go. I think he has like 10 and less accuracy as well. Something also. I want to move the player away so I don't spawn right next to the big bad. I'll move the big bad over here too. So, there. Okay. Yeah, cool. Nice. To be honest, I like stuff like that. About this tutorial because I don't understand that sort of aspect about the language because I'm not familiar with it basically at all. I can make him shit pellets. I can shoot out of my ass. That could be better. he's not really somebody who is in the business of making tutorials exactly. And this tutorial is actually the perfect tutorial for that kind of a mistake. This guy is an accomplished game developer. He has 2 games on Steam that are released and one that's on Steam to be released. And I mean, that doesn't, I'm just like saying that he has some credential there in terms of he's taken, a concept from nothing to an actual product. And he's not like some YouTuber who set out to like, I'm going to teach people perfectly how to make games. The premise of the tutorial that he made was, this is literally, if you have no experience, from nothing, you basically just install Unity and then we're going to make a game. And so combining those things together, he's somebody who has made games. He certainly can make a game. He knows how to make a game. He's not like a professional tutorial maker. He just did this. I don't know why he's doing it, but I think it's cool that he did, and I'm glad that he did. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. My end goal is I want to know how to make games. I've wanted to for a long time, and I've dabbled in it in the past, but gave up on it multiple times. The most that I ever invested my time into it was with Pygame a number of years ago, probably like 5 years ago. I made a functional Pong game, and then a number of prototype things that never really went anywhere. I had a lot of struggles with Pygame, the way that it operates, and I also found it hard to find good, useful information. Like there were definitely tutorials out there for Pygame, but there was just a lot of like crap, and Pygame was not hugely popular, so it was hard to get like quality information. So there you have it.
And then within the loop, it's not normally. But we fix that now. So hopefully, let's just check that works. Let's check I haven't done anything wrong. In the meantime, check it. Recording is still going all right. So shotgun.
This guy made
consistent,
Gunpoint and Heat Signature, which you can find both of which on Steam. I think they were both made with
point is the kind of inaccuracy we want.
Game Maker Studio, and
there's no
then
bias in the overall group.
his third game is
just that.
Tactical Breach Wizards, which is in development on Unity.
Back up.
I think it's his first Unity game.
We have this Uzi rifle shotgun. They're all just objects with the weapon behavior on them, and in fact, they all have sort of multiple components to them, multiple game objects within them. But the only one that really matters is the parent one that has the weapon behavior on it. These cylinders, first of all, they all look the same, so it's kind of pointless as a visual thing. But they're not doing anything. They don't even have any physicality to them. So, what I want to do first, 2 things I want to do is I want to give the player a list of all the weapons they have so that they can cycle through them. Right now they don't have that, they just have this one slot, remember? On player there's this one slot for a weapon. We can't put all the weapons in there. We need another variable that can take a list of things. And that's called a list. And then I also want to make weapons into a prefab that we then vary in different ways. And I don't think we need to do that yet. So I think we'll do the list first. So if we go into player behavior.
Okay, let's do a list.
Right now we've got public weapon behavior there. Now I want a list of weapons. I'm just going to write public list and then pointy brackets weapon behavior. I'll just call it the list weapons. And when you declare a list is a bit different to a normal variable type. it's kind of like actually taking a sheet of notepaper and putting it down on the desk when you declare this thing. You actually create something by declaring this. And,
I'm not following this guy's tutorials because he's a master programmer. Calm down.
We just say new. In fact, as I write the word new and then space, it suggests what we want to write, which is new list weapon behavior, and we just put brackets after it. So we declare this variable and this list of variables really, and we actually need to.
He calls parens brackets as well. He calls everything a bracket.
I don't know if you call this instantiating it or initializing it or whatever. I think that's called a constructor anyway. You don't really know any of that. As you can tell, I don't know it. Yeah, when you're making a list, you actually need to create something. So you have to write this new list, and then all this, list brackets weapon behavior is exactly what we said it was, and then these brackets afterwards. We've seen these on functions, obviously, on methods. And usually, often they have a parameter inside that's passing some information, and if there's no information to pass, then it's just empty. A good way to think of these
exactly,
is they are
Food, you
doing
got it.
something. Whenever you see those brackets, we're doing something. Some code is going to be run as a result of this. When we do get component rigid body here, it doesn't just end on the pointy brackets, it has these brackets afterwards because we're actually doing something. We're asking some code to go and run and find us a rigid body. Whereas when we, if we set something to be, trying to find, if we just wanted to do something like cursor position equals vector 3.0, we don't do any brackets after that. It's not vector 3.0 with brackets because we don't need to, the vector 3 hotline that we're calling for this reference isn't going to do anything. It already has that information. It's not going to do any work. So it's never going to be critical for you to understand that. It just helps to remember, oh yeah, you've got to put brackets on the end of this because we're actually creating something. And I think we need another variable for which weapon we currently have selected. Now we already have that here, but the first thing we're going to want to do with this list of weapons is have a button that takes you to the next weapon. And what I want to do is I'm going to do a public int selected weapon index. Int, we mentioned this briefly before, it's short for integer and it just means a whole number. This is a case where it probably won't break if we make it a float, which is the normal kind of number we use, but we know for sure
no
that
clue,
can never be
Parabola.
decimal, can never be a fraction. It doesn't make any sense. If you have a list of
You've
5
come to the wrong
weapons
place for
and you
answers
want
to such
specify a weapon
questions,
in that
at least
list,
from
you
me.
can say
Maybe
weapon
someone
3,
in
you can say
chat
weapon
knows.
4, you can't say weapon 3.4, it just doesn't make any sense. And anytime it fundamentally doesn't make sense to have decimals, you probably want to use an int just to make sure.
Lordy.
If you ever accidentally do assign it to 3.4, the system will immediately tell you, you've done something wrong here. I don't know what you've done wrong, but this isn't what you think it is. And that's actually helpful.
Accidentally left it running.
So, I don't think we need this weapon behavior, this thing anymore. And so I will delete it. I may make a bunch of complaints about that because we reference it, or just one. Let me see. Yeah, so selected weapon index in start, we're just going to set that to 0. So the first thing on our list, again, this is a programmer thing. Lists start with element 0, not element 1. And so if you have a 2-element list,
I know all this.
the things in it will be element 0 and element 1. If you have a 3-element list, the things in it will be element 0, element 1, element 2. There'll be no element 3. And that's we did brush up against that, didn't we? What was the it was in the iteration count thing. So yeah, iteration count this is very much like cycling through a list. We actually don't have a list in particular that we're using here, but yeah, it starts at 0 and it stops before the number of elements that's in it. And then so we've got this error. We've got to fix this now. Now that we're using a list, we can refer to the list, and we want to specify we mean the first thing in this list. We want the no, sorry, not the first thing. We want the selected one. So
Is that going to be like...
if we have these 5 guns, and we've selected gun 3, we want gun 3 to fire, and the way you do that is
like
square brackets. Yet another kind of bracket. Every kind of
Yay.
bracket on the keyboard is used.
I knew
in
something.
programming. And when you are trying to specify an element of a list, it's square brackets. There is, I'll just mention as an aside.
That's pretty normal
if you've ever heard of
syntax for
arrays in programming.
referring
lists
to
are
an
much like
index of a
arrays.
list.
I don't think we will ever have any reason to use arrays. There's no need for you to know about those two different things. They're better at managing memory. It's kind of about like an array is sort of set in stone, and the list is more flexible and can change more during runtime, which in theory, performs slightly less well in some kind of memory management sense that I have never understood, will never understand, have never needed to understand. So you just forget about arrays, just use lists. That's my advice. I've written something that's completely bizarre there. I've told that weapon 3 is going to fire. We obviously don't want weapon 3 to always be the one we fire. We want whatever we have selected to fire. And like I say, on startup, that's 0, so it's the first element in the list. And so right now we'll just fire the first one. So we don't yet have any code to switch weapons, but this code will work like our old code, but it uses a list which
right.
at least supports our ability to switch between weapons. So now when I go back to player behavior, we're going to lose that reference to a shotgun because I deleted that variable. Now we've got this little weapons drop down. It says size. It's a kind of slightly confusing word. It means how many elements in this list, and right now there's 0. You can like type things in here and change the size of the list that way. I don't do it that way if I can help it because it's a bit manual and weird. There's actually quite a neat way we can get all these weapons in the list.
So select them all and drag them in?
What I want to do is select these 3 things. I hope you can see my cursor. I actually don't see...
That's not going to work because of the inspector.
This thing is working. This is my app to
Mine is different from his.
highlight the cursor.
But I'm sure it'll be
Sort
fine.
of gone to sleep. And if I switch back to OBS, I should be able to tell whether you can see it. Yes, you can. Yeah, so this list down here, I want to grab all these and drag them into this list. If I do that, here we go. I'm going to drag them over. Oh no, I can't, because by selecting those, I've caused those to be the thing in the inspector.
I just ran into that.
So there's a little trick to help you with that, because this is often the thing you want to do. You want to drag something from...
Oh, is it this?
It could be
is
from the
it
project
lock?
folder as well into here, but as soon as you click it, you lose this view over here, because
Tom, it
you've
doesn't
selected
work.
something else that
Tom, I
you can't
can't.
inspect. And so to avoid that, you can lock the inspector. There's a little lock icon on the
I'm
top
using
right
a newer
here.
version,
Click that,
Tom.
and now it will stay on that until I unclick that.
Tom, help me.
So I think I can just grab all 3 of these, drag them in over to where it says weapons. I'm going to drop it on the
I
word
didn't drag
weapons
them
there, and the little plus icon to see that it's going to work.
Okay.
And they all go in.
Okay.
So now if I just play our game, we can see element 0 is the Uzi, and remember we initialize selected weapon. Selected weapon
Right.
index is right there. So we fire the Uzi first.
I do find that.
That's our Uzi. And we could actually change weapons in the inspector like this. That'll be the rifle, and then if we change selected weapon index to, not 3, sorry, 2. I just fell foul of that thing I wanted.
Yeah. Look at that.
That's a shotgun. Okay, so we could already do that. So that's not very good yet, but it's cool that we haven't broken anything yet. It's always a plus.
Cool. That's awesome.
While we're here, I noticed, look, we still have this second between shots and second since last shot variables. We don't need those anymore, right? Those are on the weapons. The player doesn't have those. So if I delete this, it's going to complain that these things are not defined, but that's fine. That's just where we initialized it. We can delete that too. And yeah, we don't want any of those references. So our player class got a bit simpler, which is nice. So now, our firing code is we look for fire 1, which is the left mouse button, and then we do this. Let's just copy and paste all that. Get rid of the word firing. Change that to fire 2, which is right mouse. We should at some point rename these inputs, because you can choose what they're called, and that's a ridiculous thing to call it. Even more so than the other one. And now what we want to do is selected weapon index increased by 1, but we'll hit a problem here, because what if we're already on the last element of the list? If we're in the last thing on the list, then we add 1 to it, now we've gone out of range, and the game will crash when we do that.
Cool.
And that's a nasty kind of thing. It's a thing you want to watch out for, because what I've written is fine.
This is Tom Francis,
Visual Studio doesn't know I've written anything that can crash yet. I mean,
developer
it
of
could totally can crash, but,
Gunpoint
it doesn't warn you
and
about it, because it's not invalid
Heat
code.
Signature.
It doesn't not make sense, but you've created a situation where it can crash while you're playing. and those crashes kind of cost you more time because you don't realize you've broken anything until you actually try it, and then you discover you've broken something. And yeah, it's much nicer when you get a red underline that's kind of that's a nice error because you're being told right away, so you fix it right away. Anyway, be careful about indexes going out of range. So what we want to say is if selected weapon index is greater than or equal to how many weapons do we have, which is weapons, that's our list, and then we say count. Count is, if we have 3 weapons on our list, count is 3. If we have 1 weapon on our list, count is 1. And the reason we don't even want to let selected weapon index get as much as that, because remember we start at 0. So if we have 1 element in our list, 1 is an invalid index. It can never be 1. It's got to be less than 1. And then we'll just do, if we've gone too far, just start at 0.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense,
doesn't it? So now we should be able to switch through weapons just by right-clicking.
Oh, I installed that one that does the
So start with the Uzi.
the bracket style like
Right-click.
this, by the way.
Shotgun.
People who were mentioning that last time, but I missed it.
So that's not right, is it? It's good that it's switch weapon, but look at our list. Uzi, rifle, shotgun. We skipped over rifle. I know why that is. It's because I just copy and pasted our firing code. Our firing code is fine with us holding down the button. What that says is all the time the fire is held.
Oh, right. You need to get button.
So we've just said all the time
what
right mouse is held, constantly change weapon.
Get button.
And so that means how long you hold it for is going to have
down,
which weapon you switch to.
I think.
And actually, we don't want that at all, do we? I think we want get button down. So that will only, if I hold the right mouse for like 3 seconds, this still only happens
your
once
slug tube's in my sock
when the
box.
mouse goes down, when the button goes down.
6, thank you for the
there's also
raid.
one
Welcome,
for,
6. Let's.
get button.
You gambled it all.
That means when you release the mouse button,
I'm on the
we
rifle
want
now.
to use down because
Beautiful.
it's sooner.
I'm on the
You
shotgun.
know, as soon as we know you want to switch weapon, let's do it.
Now I'm on the Uzi. Oh, very cool.
So now I should see the correct sequence. Uzi,
Fantastic.
right-click, rifle, right-click, shotgun, right-click, Uzi, right-click, rifle.
6 got you addicted to gambling.
Cool.
Well, you're in charge of all of them now, 6.
Apologize for the street noise. I don't know how loud that's coming through to
You have to watch over them.
So that's pretty cool. But now I want you to be able to pick up weapons, and I think we should make weapons a prefab, because we're going to start doing some stuff to them that will want to be true for all of them.
God, this is so cool.
And
Congratulations,
how will it
Block.
work? I think we'll want.
Well done.
I can't remember. Is it rigid bodies or colliders the way you set whether it's a trigger? It's a collider. Okay.
They're colliders by default.
Okay. Let's start by just pulling out. Let's just pull out one of them, the shotgun. Okay. So what I'm doing here is dragging it. Right now it's nested under the player. You know, it's kind of attached to the player, and I'm dragging it just to the scene in general, which basically makes it unparented from the player, takes it out of the player's hierarchy. Really, you can think of this as I've made it a child of the scene rather than a child of anything else, which everything is. Maybe that's just an abstract and weird way to think about it. But anyway, that's how you drag something out. You can probably just drag. Can you just drag it to the bottom of the list? Oh yeah, that works too. Okay, so you can do it that way as well. I'll let that happen actually because neither of these weapons. I'd like both these weapons to be pick-upable. But I want to deal with just one at the moment. So let's go to our scene tab. Hit F there to focus on what I have selected. And of course, they're still inside the player. When you unparent it, it doesn't move. It stays where it is. But now let's move over here. And we're going to make it a prefab, are we? Yes, let's do that.
Are we, Tom?
So I guess
He's doing a lot of thinking. I'm gonna.
maybe we should start with the rifle, which is going to be.
Yeah. Should we start
like
with the
this.
rifle?
Yeah, it does make sense to make this prefabs. So I'm just going to rename rifle weapon. This is our least interesting weapon, so I'm going to use this as the standard one. I'm going to drag this to our project folder to make it a prefab.
Okay.
And I'm keeping these around for now, just as for reference points, so I can look at their stats. But I might. So if I select them and then I check this box. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so an important point to say about locking the inspector is you do have to remember to click that lock thing again to unlock it later, otherwise you get confused.
Oh yeah. I just did the
I'm going to
same
select these
thing.
ones that aren't prefabbed yet and just uncheck the box here. This box has just enabled the whole thing. If you disable something, it's no longer, it's as if you deleted it for now, but you can still bring it back. Okay, so we have a weapon prefab now, and I'm going to name it. This one was rifle, wasn't it? So I've renamed the instance. I haven't renamed the prefab. The prefab remains weapon, and they're all gold at the moment. I guess that's okay for now. And we want to do something to its collider. Ah, yes. Okay. So
Yeah. Well, all this stuff so far has just
right
been
now,
very
if I
easy.
recall correctly, when this thing was, where's the player?
Anybody who follows
Player
this tutorial is gonna.
1-1.
I mean, you could probably slam everything that I've done
Rifle there as well.
so
The
far
rifle's kind of
easily
fairly new.
in one
That's a bit
day.
weird. We might want to move the cylinder out so that it's not. So kind of what you see is what you get. If it's going to be lying on the ground, it should look as long as it is. Right now, it looks twice as long as it will be when you're holding it because half of it's embedded in your body, which is just kind of weird. So let's not do that. Of course, at that point, it becomes rather large, so we could shrink it in general.
Should we be editing this instance like
Move it
this?
in here.
Or...
So I've set its reference. Sorry, I've set its the coordinates of the base game object to the same as the player. So that just as a reference point, just so I can see how it will look when the player is carrying it. And now that I've done that, I can move it out, and it can just lie around wherever. I actually. I'm thinking about. I want to add a collider to this now because we took the collider off last time, and that was actually a bit hasty. I kind of need a collider now. I don't want this gun to physically hit enemies or collide with the bullets it's firing or anything like that. But now that it's a thing that's lying on the ground, we do want to be able to pick it up, and to do that, we can detect collision the same way we can when an enemy bumps into you. So I guess the easiest way to do this is just to add. So if I go to add component, it was a capsule collider that had on it. Even though it's a cylinder, you give it a capsule collider. I think there is no such thing as a cylinder collider. And when I add that, we will see. It basically matches the size. It's a little bit smaller than the weapon. We can make that bigger if we like. But I'm going to leave it alone because it'll be fine. Okay, so now our rifle sits on the ground. It's got a weapon behavior still, and now it's got a collider. Oh yes, this. Okay, yeah. I have edited the instance and not the prefab. I think we will never. We might want to change what kind of, physical bit the weapon has, physical appearance, barrels and that kind of thing. We might want that to be different for each weapon. But in the main prefab, we might as well we'll never want a cylinder that doesn't have a collider, because like I say, I want to be able to be collided with. So actually, this change we just made, it probably should have been made in the prefab itself. So there's two ways I can do this. I can just apply it to the weapon prefab. Let's do that just to kind of teach that. So I've made a change to an instance. I want it to actually apply to all of the prefab. So I can go to, just to recap, I clicked on the cog there, and then added component, because it's one way I've noticed that I was doing this is there's a little plus icon on that, which is not normally
you can even revert it.
This prefab wouldn't normally have this. It's been specifically added just to this instance.
Neat.
So I go to added component, and say apply to prefab weapon, and that plus disappears. And because I shouldn't have been doing this in the first place, let's open up weapon. And this is what I should have been editing. Is that... Oh, all of our changes were just on the instance, weren't they? Yeah, we probably want all of those to apply to the prefab as well.
Tom.
This is another good learning opportunity because I lost track of what I was doing. Yeah, all those changes about I want the weapon to kind of start roughly where the front of the player is. Again, we might not have every weapon look like this, but if the prefab looks like this, it's a good reference point because then when we replace this gold cylinder with a grey box or something, we know where the grey box should be. It should be where the gold cylinder is. So every change I've made so far, I actually want all of those to apply to the thing except for the name, I suppose. So there's a way of doing that. When I click on the rifle, there's this override thing. An override is what they call a difference you've made to the instance that is not in the prefab currently. You've overridden the thing. And I can just say apply all. And then when I open the weapon, now we've got that same pattern where the position of the weapon itself is different to the position of the cylinder.
Oh no.
Yes.
Mine
so I should have been editing prefab all along.
Hell.
I'm gonna.
Okay. I didn't do a thing that he did. See, my parent here. Okay. I need to do this. Probably good enough, I guess. I don't know. Well, he made it exactly the same as the player, right? What's the player's situation right now? 19 whatever. So well, that's not the same, but why? It was originally relative to the player. Really? Copy the whole component. I assume that's not. Oh, copy position rotation. Copy world placement is probably the thing to do, and then paste world placement. And yet it's different. How did this occur? No. The cylinder isn't offset. It's rotated differently from its parent, but no. It should be in the dead center of the player right now. This is weird that it isn't. Because it has the exact same coordinates. See? No. The player is the cube. You see? It's really confusing me right now that they're not in the exact same position. It seems impossible. What am I misunderstanding here? There's got to be some easy explanation for why I'm wrong about this. Cylinders at 0. The cylinder's position is going. I don't care right now where the cylinder's position is because it's relative to its parent. What's bugging me is that the this and this have the exact same coordinates. Like, look at the position. 19.93, 1, 0. 19.93, 1, 0. And yet, they're not in the same spot. Is this because it's a reference, maybe? I don't know why that would cause an issue. And I've lost connection to chat. Well, welly, well, well. Huh? Excuse me, please. What? Huh? It is, yeah. It's weird that when you have it expanded and you select the parent, it doesn't show you unless it's disabled. That's just a very confusing way of displaying things, but alright, fine, fucking whatever. Honestly, whatever. It must be because I'm on a newer version or something. Between center and pivot. Oh, this? Ah, and if we... Yeah. Yep.
Something I don't like here is that when I'm editing a prefab, it doesn't really matter what the position is there, but I don't like it to not be 000. I just because it's just a rule. And definitely, if changing that broke something here, that would be a big warning sign that we're doing something wrong. So yeah, I like the base game object of any prefab to be 000 1111.
Sure. I'm with that.
So one reason I wanted to make this do all stuff in the prefab rather than the instance is there's a change we want to make here. When it's not just about adding a capsule collider, we also want to check is trigger. Because, like I say, I don't want this weapon to actually physically bump into stuff, but when the player touches it, I want them to pick it up. So, let's do that. In the player behavior,
Okay.
remember how when an enemy touches us, actually we've used triggers before, haven't we? Let me, if I just look for on trigger, enter. Yes, the explosion. Yeah, the explosion is also not a physics object in the traditional sense, but we want to know when it hits something with a health system, and so we did on trigger enter there. And for the player, I want to do something similar. I want to do on trigger enter, and once it recognised that I was typing that, I just hit enter and it filled out all the rest of that stuff. And now I'm only looking for weapons, and so what I want to know is does the thing we collided with have
Okay, I think I have both of them installed and it didn't do the thing. It's fine.
When I collide with a trigger, this will happen when I bump into that weapon, but it will give us a collider. It's going to give us a collider called other, and that's the collider we hit. Now look at our weapon prefab. The collider is on the cylinder. The cylinder doesn't have a weapon component. So if we go looking for a weapon component, it's going to say no, we don't have one. The weapon component is in its parent. But luckily there is a specific function for checking that. So what we're going to do is we're going to declare a variable called their weapon, and it's going to equal other, which is the collider, dot, now it's not just going to be get component, it's going to be get component in parent. Is that what it's called? Yes. Weapon behavior. And again, brackets because we're doing something. So that says, oh, we bumped into a collider? Well, ask that collider, does your parent have a weapon behavior? Are your parents home, ma'am? And do they have a weapon? And that's what we want to know. And so here I've declared a variable and I've stored what their weapon is. Hey, ask your parents, do they have a weapon? Do they have a gun in the house? And if so, bring it here.
Now we want to probably append this to our list of weapons,
or
right?
return to us nothing. And so we want to check for that. Is their weapon not equal to null? We've done that before, right? The not equals thing. Yes, in fact, this is exactly like what we did. We defined a variable, we went looking for a component, and if we find it, we store it at this variable. Then we check if the variable's null, and then we do something with it. That's exactly what we're going to do here. Ask your parents if they have a gun. If you came back to us with something that wasn't empty,
do your parents have a gun?
Bring us a gun, then let's do something with that gun. Let's pick it up. So at the very basic level, we should weapons.add brackets their weapon. So that says our weapons list.
Oh, you just do an add.
Yeah, maybe I should have called this weapons list. But anyway, weapons is the name of our list. I'm not going to rename it right now because I think we'll lose everything that's in the list if I do. And to avoid that, we have to do that formally serialized as trick, which I think was just more trouble than it's worth to teach at least. So we want to add their weapon. That will put it in our list. It will have a strange effect, I think. I might just demonstrate it because it's going to be fun, I think. Let me first go back to our scene. I'm going to hit Control S right now to save our scene. And what have we got? We've dropped the rifle, we've dropped the Uzi. The player right now has no weapon at all. I am going to just, with their weapon list, I'm just going to make size 0. And so there's nothing in it. And we should find that this crashes, because I think it'll crash as soon as I fire. Yeah, because
we don't have a weapon at all.
Argument out of range. It must be non-negative and less than the size of the collection. If we double click that, it's going to jump us to the code where we fire, which is not jumping us there, but I will do it. And so we're trying to fire a weapon without even checking if we have any weapons. So let's first, in this input get button fire.
Okay, well, mine didn't do anything. Why? Saved. Strange. I can click all day. And it doesn't care. Also, oh. I have a turret now. I have a turret. I have a remote controlled turret. Oh, that's great. Wow. Beautiful. But I don't actually have... I can add a lot of rifles to my list right now. He took his off, right? So he... That's why his crashed, because he literally had nothing. Did he take his off? Oh, I guess you just see that. Weapon 0. That does crash. That does work. Curious. Interesting. All right, well, let's continue. Now that we've achieved parity.
Yes, I am the
Let's check
Lord.
the weapon
Arcmaster,
status.
thank you for
Let's go to
40 months.
Moving on.
And get on fire. Have we used an and statement before like that? If we
Yes.
haven't,
Yes, Tom, we have.
When you want to check 2 conditions at once, both these things need to be true before we fire. Both weapons, we need to have some weapons. The count of the weapons we have has to be more than 0. And we want to check is the button being pressed. And that's just 2 ampersands in a row. Just needs and. So that should fix our crash. And then that'll let us see the other problem. If you'll ever let me click play. Okay, so left clicking doesn't break the game now. And I'm going to pause just to show that what just happened was what I expected, which is when I bumped into that rifle, it did add it to our list. Remember, this list was empty, I just cleared it. When I bumped into it, that popped up. So it's in our list now, but you'll notice it's still on the ground. So when I fire, it's going to... It just does fire towards the cursor, but it fires out of the rifle that's just lying there. It's not coming out of me at all, which is a bit of a problem. So we should actually pick that weapon up. And so that's not as simple as... we could do weapons, well, not weapons, their weapon, dot transform dot position equals our transform dot position. That's fine, it would teleport it to us, but it's not going to keep it there. So
Right, it would just be wherever you are.
shall we do that anyway? Yeah, I think that this is it. We will do this, and transform rotation.
Should we?
Our rotation.
Do we? Okay.
But we also need to parent it to us. Remember, that's the difference. That was what made them walk around with us and stay attached to us, was they were parented to us.
We need to become...
And to do that in code, we do their weapon dot transform.
It wasn't
dot
parented
parent.
to us.
And in brackets, what is its parent going to be? It's going to be us, but actually parenting is always about the transforms. It's the transform that's parented to the transform. In fact, that's why we're accessing their transform, is because that's how parenting works. It's not the game object that's parented, it's the transform that's parented. It makes sense to say that the game object is parented to the other game object as well, but in code, when you actually say, what is my parent, the answer is going to be a transform. So that teleports it to us, makes it face our direction, and then it sets the parent. Let's see if that works. If it doesn't, if that's unreliable in any way, there's a different way we could do it. We could set its parent, and then we could set its local position and its local rotation to 0. But I figure there's no point in learning that different.
What does it say? Oh. Oh. Okay. I need to hear that explanation again, because what?
Accessing their transform is because that's with us and stay attached to us, was they were parented to us. And to do that in code, we do their weapon dot transform dot set parent, and then in brackets, what is its parent going to be? It's going to be us, but actually parenting is always about the transforms. It's the transform that's parented to the transform. In fact, that's why we're accessing their transform, is because that's how parenting works. It's not the game object that's parented, it's the transform that's parented. It makes sense to say that the game object is parented to the other game object as well, but in code, when you actually say, what is my parent, the answer is going to be a transform.
Okay.
So that teleports it to us, makes it face our direction, and then it sets the parent. Let's see if that works. If it doesn't, if that's unreliable in any way, there's a different way to do it.
I am the
we can set
Lord.
its parent
An
and then we can set its
anonymous
local
user
position,
gifted a
local
tier
position
1 sub to Game Maker.
And how to say for that sub, that gift sub.
0. But I figure there's no point in learning that different other way of doing it if code we already know can do the job.
Yay!
Let's see if that does work. Yeah, look at that. Picked up a gun. Okay, cool. So now, I think I will make new weapons for the Uzi and the shotgun. So if I drag weapon prefab into the scene somewhere, and we can do a Y coordinate of 1, and move it over here. Okay, let's make this one the new shotgun. So I'm making them anew because these ones weren't built in our prefab. The shotgun and the Uzi that we made, we made them all wholesale. We made 3 different things that were all very similar to each other, but they weren't prefabs, which was silly really. We should have made a prefab. Anytime you want lots of things to have a lot in common, they should be based on the same prefab, because then Unity will be keeping track of where there are differences and where there are similarities, and we can change them all at once and things like that. So I want this new shotgun stats to be the same as the old shotgun. So I go to the old shotgun, and on weapon behavior, you can click down here and say copy component. And a new shotgun.
I already deleted it,
component,
Tom.
so I'm not going to remove it or add a new one. When I click the cog now, paste component values is there. When I do that, it's going to change all its values to the same as the old shotgun. And those have gone bold. That is to remind us. In fact, there's a little blue highlight. I haven't noticed that before. That is to tell us this is different to the prefab. We've changed something on the instance that's different to the rest. And if we change, so A, that means we haven't altered the prefab by doing this, and also it means that if the prefab now changes what base accuracy is, it's not going to affect us because we override those. Those are overrides. And if I click that overrides button, it's going to, oh, look at that, that's nice. So let's do that again. When I click the overrides button, it gives us a list of anything that has been changed at all. It tells us the weapon behavior has been changed. When I click on that, it actually details what the changes are. So it says, hey, look, in the prefab source, these things are 1,000, 0.5, and 1. In this instance, this override, we're doing 5, 1, and 10. Good to know.
Cool. Neat.
So
Awesome.
I also want to make it look different, because at this point it's impossible to tell which one's the rifle and which one's the shotgun.
Right.
Let us... we're in game view, aren't we? What should a shotgun look like? Let's take... Maybe this whole thing should be slightly stouter. And it could be less tall. Don't know about that. But the main thing I want to do was let's duplicate the cylinder. And I've clicked the rotate tool here, and I'm hoping there's a... Is it the blue one? Yeah. Is this going to work? Rotate it a bit like that, and then kind of have it coming out like that. I'm trying to make a sort of cluster of 3 of these things. And then if I duplicate that...
Really?
I could just change its rotation. I set that in the editor, but now it says it's minus 18, so if we do plus 18, that should work. And then it's offset, which is going to be X, I think. What if that was negative? I don't know if this is the right thing to do at all. Yeah, that works. Okay, that's a terrible shotgun. That didn't work at all like I hoped. What do we think? Is it clear which is which? Sort of. You know what? Maybe they shouldn't be rotated. Maybe they should all be 0, 0, 0. Is that better? The fact that this material is slightly transparent is really messing with everything. Are they also... They're offset forwards too.
Oh yeah, because that's how scale works.
And another thing I want to do, I don't really like this material for the shotgun. So that was our explosion material. I'm going to click that in our project folder and do Control-D to duplicate it, get a new one. When you see, I'm finding with metallic stuff, sometimes it comes out super dark. It's not actually a problem. It hasn't really done that. Next time you run Unity, it probably won't be dark. Next time I click play, it might not be dark. I don't know, it's just a temporary glitch. And the fact that this is transparent is weird. Let's not make it transparent. And also it's orange. Let's make it grey. Maybe quite a pale one. We can make it less metallic. The metal's pretty good. And then, yeah, let's drag that onto our cylinders.
Okay.
You can see that's way lighter in the game, isn't it, than what material view is showing. And now I can actually see much more clearly what I've done. How this is slightly wrong. Okay. Good enough. Yeah, so that's the shotgun now. So let's check if that works. I pick up the shotgun. Yeah, look at that. That feels kind of nice. And I pick up the rifle. Okay, we do have a problem. And the problem is both exist at once. Actually, it's not a bad... it's not a worse look than what we had. I can still switch between them. They still work fine.
I'm going to try to do the thing that he wanted to do and then didn't.
So let's actually do some... Really, when we switch weapons, what we want to do is more than just change one variable, right? We need to disable some weapons and enable others. Remember how when I had those outdated Uzi and shotgun objects and I just...
Hold on there, Tommy boy. No. Yeah, fine, whatever. No, I checked. This one was labeled explosion material 1. This one's the original. I didn't change the original. Where did that go? Rename. There. Now it's called gun material as well. Okay. Let's see. How about that? Oh no. Oh no, Tom. Tom, Tom, I found an issue, Tom. They just all attach themselves to the front of you. Oh no, and they got added twice as well? Okay, list is empty. I got one rifle that time. I wonder how I got 2 the other time. I don't know. I can switch between them fine. I thought maybe what I was thinking was happening is no, honestly I don't have a clue. No, it's not duping when cycling. I'm doing it like very quickly and it's not the issue right now. I did it somehow though, clearly. I got nothing. Mashing keys. Oh! Oh, I know why. I know why. I know why. By putting 3 objects, there's 3 triggers. That's what's going on. So I've just duped. I don't know why it added that many. You think enemies collided with it and made more? It's triggering off of the weapon I already have attached. I see. So let me just test that again. So what do we expect to happen? So if I pick up the shotgun, I'm going to let him pass into it, actually. Pass through it. Okay. That gave me 2 shotguns. I don't know if the big enemy had anything to do with that, or if it was how I entered the shotgun. I was touching 2 of the cylinders at the time. You think it's when anything collides with it? Let's do this experiment again then. So I've got player selected. I've got nothing in my list. No. Touch the rifle. Touch it. Touch it. Touch it. No. A. Lindley, thank you for those biddies. I just got one rifle there. That gave me 3 shotguns. You know, when the weapons touch each other. Well, you know what? That explains it. You got it, Food. So if I pick up the shotgun, because it's parented to the player, that's like extending the player's collision area and adding to it. So now the player has 4 collision areas, collision boxes, if you include the shotgun, which has 3 now. So you could pick up 4 rifles at once if you manage to touch the rifle with all 3 of those colliders at the same time. I bet we can prove this by picking up the shotgun, whoop, and then running it face first into the rifle without running the player into it. Yep. So I only touched it with 1 collision box, but if I were moving faster, I would have touched it with all 3 of the shotgun's collision boxes. That's why. Wonder if he runs into this, if he notices this. He's got to, because it's so easy to run into that. Let's find out. Actually, I'm going to go back a step, because I think it ran a little bit.
Not a worse look than what we had. I can still switch between them, they still work fine, but I forgot that right now they all show. So let's actually do some, really when we switch weapons, what we want to do is more than just change one variable, right? We need to disable some weapons and enable others. Remember how when I had those outdated using shotgun objects and I just unchecked them? That's what we want to do to our weapons that we're not currently using. We don't want to destroy them, we don't want to throw them away, we don't want to shrink them or hide them or, put them in the ground or anything. We can leave them exactly where we are, their position is correct, they should still be our children. Our guns are our children, is an interesting thing you find yourself saying in programming. Or we just want to turn them off for a bit, just turn off, and we'll bring you back later. So, this is kind of good because if we can declare a new method, a new function, private void change weapon index, and in brackets we're going to say int index, and this code here that we do, this is weapon switching, let's move all of that into here, and in fact I copied that rather than pasting it. Basically, this thing is now going to, instead of increasing the weapon index, it's going to run a function and pass in, okay, whatever our current index is, that plus 1. Change our weapon index to our current weapon index plus 1. And then this function, change weapon index, anytime we want to change weapon index, we always care about, did we go out of range? Did we make it too big? Are we talking about a nonsense weapon index? We'd always want to check that, right? So it's good to have that in a separate function, so that anytime weapon index gets changed, this runs and it checks, did we change to a valid index? This line is wrong now. We're not always going to increase the index. We're going to, we've been given an index, so we check let's do select weapon index equals index. We set it to what we've been told, then we check, did we go too far? If we went too far,
right,
then set it back
hold on. Some shit happened here. Index. I think I must have hit tab without thinking. We're fine now.
Zero.
Well, he's going to end up running into it if he gets like an error or something anyway. I'm interested to see.
Meaningfully better. Why did we do that just now? Oh yeah, because there's other stuff we want to do, right? After we've changed weapons, we want to disable any weapons that are not our selected one. And we can do that with a loop, like we did for firing. So when we fired, we did this for loop. And I'm going to let's copy the essence of that. So after we change weapons, we're going to do a for loop, and we will, I'm just going to call the variable I this time, that is what you'll more commonly be using in programming. We declare this counter variable and set it to 0. We don't want it to go as high as a certain value. What value would that be? Weapons.count, because we don't want it to go out of the range of the list we're cycling through. And for each thing in the weapons list, we're going to check. So in this case, this I, it used to be our iteration count, right? For shotguns, we're making 10 projectiles. We want to count how many projectiles we've made so far, what projectile we're on right now. We were counting the number of iterations we've done. Here, it is that, but it also happens to be the index of the thing we're accessing. So from within this loop, if I say weapons I, that is the weapon we're looking at right now. As we go through the list, if we're on our second iteration, we're looking at weapon number 2, or weapon number 1, because of that weird 0 rule. So what we're interested in is that's how we would access the weapon we're talking about. But first we want to check if I equals selected weapon index, then we want to make sure that weapons I is active. So we can do, excuse me, we want to turn on, when I unchecked those outdated shotgun and Uzi, I checked this thing. That is on the game object, right? It's not on the weapon behavior. I don't want to just disable the weapon behavior, I want to disable the game object. So when we have the weapon we want to go to its game object and then say set active true. So as we go through the list, when we find the index that we're currently on, let's say it's 2, then weapon number 2, your game object should be active. If the one we're looking at right now is not the weapon that we have selected, then we want weapons I game object set active to false. So if it is our current weapon, turn it on. If it isn't our current weapon, turn it off. So I'll comment this a bit better. For each weapon in our list, let's do change our index. If it's gone too far, loop back around. Then for each weapon on our list, if it's the one...
No, I don't really
selected,
like extra credits.
make it visible.
I haven't for
Enable
a long time now that I think about it.
And if it's not the one we just selected, hide it. Disable it. And I know the function says set active. That's my expression about that. Yeah, I call it enabling and disabling because, importantly, there is, just like there's on trigger enter, there's also on enable and, don't write this, on disable. And those are functions we'll definitely be using at some point, they're really useful. And that happens when you uncheck that box or when you check that box. It also happens when you destroy something or create something. And yeah, so set active is just how you change whether something's enabled or not. And disabling things is a really good way to both hide them and also, when something is disabled, it's not going to run its update function. It's not going to be doing stuff of its own accord. It does still exist, and you can still tell it to do things. I don't know that we'll be doing that anytime soon, but yeah, just so you know, it's not like you deleted it. It's like you put it to sleep. It's like you said, hey, we don't need you right now. It's like you put it to sleep and also made it invisible. Here's your cloak of invisibility. Take a nap. We'll tell you when we need to wake you up. And yeah, in some situations, you can actually like prod the thing and say, hey, while you're asleep, just do this. But it's asleep and it's not going to do anything of its own accord. So does that all work? Change weapon index is going to be index +1. The change weapon index method now checks whether that index is valid, and if not, it fixes it. Then it's going to change the visibility of our weapons.
Doesn't fix the pickups.
We saw why that's necessary. It looks dumb if you...
We do something when we first pick one up.
Okay. Okay. So the weapon changing code does work, but you probably noticed it didn't work at first, right? When I first picked it up, we still saw all the weapons at once. And we could... So the over-engineering solution to this would be, okay, well now this visibility function, we split it off into its own function, and then we run that function both on weapon select and also on weapon pickup. But actually, I don't think we need to do that, because I think when you pick up a weapon, you probably want to use it. We might need to rethink this if we ever add like rocket launchers or something, where switching to that weapon unexpectedly can cause you to damage yourself. In this game, it's generally when you're picking up a weapon, it's going to be a good thing that you want to use the weapon. So we might as well just, in this script where we hit the trigger, why not just change weapon index to whatever the latest one is. When we add something to a list, it's going to go in at the last position, the end position, the highest number. And what's the highest number in the list? It's weapons.count -1. Remember, count is never used as an index, it's too high. We always stop before we get to the count. In a 3-item list, we're going to stop at 2. And so if we had 2 weapons and we just picked up a third, after we've picked it up, we've already added it to the list here. This is where we add it.
Makes perfect sense.
Let's comment this issue. Add it to our internal list, move it to our location, and then...
Except for now I have 2 shotguns.
To us. Attach it to us, so it moves with us. And then also select it. Yeah, so we had 2 guns, we walked into a third.
I didn't actually select it.
We put it in our hands, I guess. And now our weapons.count is going to be 3. Because we had 2, now we've got 3. Our count is 3. What is the index of the new one we just picked up? It's going to be 2, because the existing weapons are 0 and 1. And we just picked up a new one, it's going to go in slot 2. So it's a little bit weird that they're all off by 1, but hopefully that makes sense. Let's see if it worked. So now pick up a second weapon, and I just switch to it. And we've got no weapons overlapping or anything. Cool, that all worked. And we can switch between them still. There's just 2 more little things to do. I will create an Uzi the same way I created the shotgun. I'm just going to drag from weapon into the scene. Once we find it, there's just weapon, and there's the index of the new one we just picked up. It's going to be 2, because our existing weapons are 0 and 1. And we just picked up a new one, it's going to go in slot 2. So it's a little bit weird that they're all off by 1, but hopefully that makes sense.
Oh, did I do that and not save it? That's why. Um, no, that still didn't do it. Why? Picked up the rifle. Switched to the rifle. Pick up the shotgun and didn't switch to the shotgun. Oh, well, now wait. What were we expecting to happen? I feel like we were expecting it to switch. Yeah, that's how it should behave. Because it's the list count -1. Which, when I pick up the rifle, that's 1 minus 1, which is 0. So it switched to the rifle automatically. But when I pick up the shotgun, that should be 2 minus 1, which is 1, index 1. But nope. Did that actually work for him, or did he just like blaze over that and not?
Let's see if it worked.
Not notice.
So now pick up a second weapon, and I just switch to it. And we've got no
No,
weapons
that-
overlapping or anything.
That worked for him. Why doesn't it work for me? What did I do? What did I do wrong? Weapon add. Their weapon. No, transform, that didn't get touched. That parent. Select it. Change weapon index. Weapons.count -1. That should just work. If I equals selected weapon index weapons, I aim object selected true. Else disable the fucker. Am I not? Is he? How does the code even work? Just by accident, I guess. Yeah. Just purely accidentally functional. That would do it. Yep, there we go. Lovely. I'm excited for when he runs into the too many colliders bug. You're doing a plus equals. Well, we are supposed to do a plus equals. Don't start giving me problems that aren't problems now. Yeah, this right here is intentional. So this is whatever it currently is plus equals 1. That's what was making it work. Well, whatever the case, this was not being passed through. Well, wait, does this actually set? So that was setting it. Right. That's why it accidentally worked. So, right, okay, I understand now. I get you. I get you. I get you. That was setting it, so this should still... Oh, well, I picked up 3 shotguns. That's not the best, but there we go. Now I have nothing, and now we have a shotgun. That's interesting. The first 2 don't actually count as shotguns. That's not part of this issue. Let me try to grab only 1 shotgun if I can. I have. Obviously, we can't change. There we go. And we're good. Still working. Yeah. Good catch. Sorry, I balked at it. I thought it wasn't an issue. Okay. Now we can move on with our lives and anticipate when Tom is going to notice that the collider thing is an issue. I'm sure it probably won't be until next episode when people in the comments are like, hey.
And we saw why that's necessary. It looks dumb if all your selected weapons are all active at once. Okay. Okay, so the weapon changing code does work, but you probably noticed it didn't work at first, right? In a 3 parent it to us, attach it to us. So we put it on our back kind of thing, we put it in our hands, I guess. And now our weapons.count is going to be 3, because we had 2, now we've got 3, our count is 3. What is the index of the new one we just picked up? It's going to be 2, because the other weapons are 0 and 1. And we just picked up a new one.
This guy was actually the Micro Machines man.
One, but hopefully that makes sense. Let's see if it worked. So now pick up a second weapon, and I just switch it. And we've got no weapons overlapping or anything. Cool, that all worked. And we can switch between them still. There's just 2 more little things to do. I will create an Uzi the same way I created the shotgun. I'm just going to drag from weapon into the scene. Once we find it, we're going to give it Y coordinate of 1. And I'll name it Uzi. And move it out from the player. Put it somewhere else. And then I'd like to change its appearance, of course. This one, let's see, if the rifle is kind of longer and thinner, maybe this is... Oh no, I moved it instead of resizing it. Maybe this is going to be stouter.
Oh, yeah, I should use that method of resizing it as well.
And that's all I can think of. Honestly, I'm not an artist. I'm certainly not a 3D modeler. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Should we just make it red? Then it's different enough. And the main thing is all our stats. We want to go to that disabled Uzi, and I'm going to copy its component, its weapon component.
Okay, I'm going to make an Uzi as well. Get that done real quick here. Uzi. I cannot use the copied stuff because I'm dumb. And I already deleted mine, so do that. He did this. I have to move mine up, which I feel like I shouldn't have to do, but here we are. Move that over. Do that. Is that the thing he's using? Oh, I don't want to use it on that. I want to, yeah, here we go. Do that. That should really be it, right? Yeah. Did I pick up 1,000? Nope, just 1 shotgun. I can switch between them. And 1 rifle. Lovely. Fantastique.
Go to our new nice prefab conformant doozy and paste component values, and now it will behave much like our old one. And I'm just going to delete those old disabled ones now. So let's just check that works. Pick up the rifle, pick up the Uzi, pick up the shotgun. They all look different, they all picked up. I can switch between them. And yeah, that's it. Okay, so we're basically done. There's one other thing I want to do that's not really a new feature. It's something we can already do, but I just never thought to do it before. This rifle kind of sucks, right? It's accurate, but who cares about accuracy in this game? This game's about hordes of things. It should at least be more powerful. Now, we could modify our weapon behavior script to add a field for damage and put that in there. But actually, our bullet already has a field for damage, right? Do you remember bullet behavior? Here, it's got bullet speed, seconds to destroy damage. We already made that variable.
Yeah.
We already made that a variable. We were smart. We foresaw this problem. So actually, all we need to do for a rifle, if we want to make it more powerful, we just need to make a new bullet prefab. So I can just go to our bullet prefab in our project folder and hit Control D, and we're going to rename it to rifle bullet. And this has another cool consequence, which is if I open that new prefab, change its damage to 2. I guess make it 3 actually. But I notice bullet speed is also a variable we can change. So we can just make it twice as fast as well, and that will feel like it has higher velocity. Oh hell, let's just make it red too. Let's make everything red. Hang on, I need to scroll down and inspect the view so I get this blank space. Okay. Remember, when you assign material, you've got to drag to this like limbo zone below everything else. Maybe it should be gold actually. Golden bullet, that's a thing.
God damn it.
I've done that, but I haven't hooked it up yet, so why am I playing it? Rifle. Oh, and the rifle is already gold, right? Yeah, cool, so this makes sense. So its weapon behavior has a reference to bullet prefab. We're just going to drag in the rifle bullet instead. And now
where's that material? Oh, we don't.
Pick it up and fires these really fast gold bullets. It actually looks really dark.
All right, here's what
that's
I'm
kind of
gonna
cool. Like killing these things in one hit is nice. Can't seem to hit that one. And switch to shotgun. Back to the less powerful white bullets. And we can imagine like the Uzi might want to have.
Why did I call it that?
Different damage values to the shotgun. I really want to do that not because it's important to our game balance yet, but just so that once you know you can do that, that gives you a lot more flexibility to play around and customize your own game however you want it.
Holy shit!
Okay, so
all right. Hold the fucking phone. Give me a second here. Okay, we'll do that. Is that still transparent? No. Yes. Yes. Whatever. And then rifle bullets. It's the next video now. Bear with me momentarily.
Open that new prefab. Change its damage to 2. I guess make it 3 actually.
Sure.
But I noticed bullet speed is also a variable we can change. So we can just make it twice as fast as well, and that will feel like it has higher velocity. Oh hell, let's just make it red too. Let's make everything red.
Okay.
I need to scroll down and inspect the view so that gets this blank space. Remember, when you assign material, you've got to drag to this like limbo zone below everything else. Maybe it should be gold actually. Golden bullet, that's a thing. I've done that, but I haven't hooked it up yet, so why am I playing it? Rifle. Oh, and the rifle is already gold, right? Yeah, cool, so this makes sense. So its weapon behavior has a reference to bullet prefab.
Doesn't
We're
really
just going to
make
drag in
sense.
the rifle bullet instead.
Doesn't really make
And now
sense.
when we
I'm
play-
going to say that. I'm just going to go.
Pick it up and fires is really fast.
I'm going to go ahead and say that doesn't really make sense to me, Tom, but I mean, it's, different strokes for different folks, right? Oh, yeah, that does feel much more rifle-like. Very good. Oh my god, look at the way the bullets bounce. It's so good. Because they're much faster. So they're angry. These are angry bullets. Excellent. Yeah, this already feels very cool. Why would I apply to prefab? Because we don't. I don't think that's right, Food. What are you wanting me to apply to prefab? That is exactly true, gang baggins. Yeah. So we don't want to change all of the weapons to rifle bullets, just the rifle. No. What he did was a single prefab and then customized the prefabs to make different weapons. So there's sort of like a base weapon. Yeah, and the rifle has its own, not only its own settings, but also its own bullet. So, yeah, that was intended.
Gold bullets. It actually looks really dark, doesn't it? But that's kind of cool. Like killing these things in one hit is nice. Can't seem to hit that one. And switch to shotgun. Back to the less powerful white bullets. And we can imagine like the Uzi might want to have different damage values to the shotgun. I really want to do that not because it's important to our game balance yet, but just so that once you know you can do that.
Before I go on, I want to go back and find the bit where he made the cylinders for the shotgun, because I'm very curious if he didn't just nip that problem in the bud right then.
Weapons for the Uzi and the shotgun. So if I drag...
I went too far.
Based on the same prefab, because then Unity will be keeping track of where there are differences and where there are similarities, and we can change now change what it's going to make a sort of cluster of three of these things. And then if I duplicate that, I could just change its rotation.
I have a feeling he
didn't.
didn't.
The editor, but now
he didn't fix
it's
this.
18, so if we do plus 18, that should work.
But I just want to make sure.
Offset, which is going to be X, I think. What if that was negative? I don't know if this is the right thing to do at all. Hey, that works.
Well, I mean, that's essentially.
That didn't work at all, like I hoped.
Wait, did he?
What do you think? Is that terrible? I don't know if this is the right thing to do at all. Hey, that works. Okay, that's
no, he didn't fix
terrible.
it.
That didn't work at all, like I hoped.
So he'll run into
this. Is it clear which is
this.
which? Sort of. You know what? Maybe they shouldn't be rotated. Maybe they should all be.
I mean, essentially, this is what he's done, food, but like just for a single weapon right now. So it's a simpler system. If you were going to do more complexity.
Are they also? They're offset forwards too. Okay. This is all like.
Then yeah, you'd want to have a prefab base for each weapon. Like if you were going to have different kinds of rifles, different kinds of Uzis, that kind of thing. But in this case, that's not really what's happening.
Sometimes it comes out super dark. It's not actually a problem. It hasn't really done that. Next time you run Unity, it probably won't be dark. Next time I click play, it might not be dark. I don't know. It's just a temporary glitch. And the fact that this is transparent is weird. Let's not make it transparent.
Yeah. Yeah. The UI changing is like sort of a reminder, like, hey, if you make any changes right now, they're not going to save.
And also it's orange. Let's make it grey. Really quite a pale one. Or do you make it less metallic?
Yeah. No, I get you. I'm just saying at this point, this is still baby steps, right?
Yeah, you can see that's way lighter in the game, isn't it, than what material view is showing. And now I can actually see much more clearly what I've done. How this is slightly wrong. Okay. Good enough. Yeah, so that's the shotgun now. So let's check if that works. I pick up the shotgun. Yeah, look at that. That feels kind of nice. And I pick up the rifle. Okay, we do have a problem.
Okay, well, all right. So let's move on. That's a kind of a bad bug because it's easy to not notice. I hope that someone tells him about it and he talks about it because I have no clue how to fix it. My inclination would be like, just don't use three bits. I don't know if turning off is trigger is the fix for that on like 2 of them or something. That doesn't seem very elegant. Like I feel like in reality you would have a single model that represents the whole like shotgun or whatever, but yeah, like take the colliders off of them and then just have a separate. That's probably the right fix for it. Yeah. It's probably one of those things where my brain immediately is going to like, what's the best practices? But I don't know the best practices. So I'm like immediately overcomplicating the issue when it's really relatively simple to address. But let's move on anyway.
Okay, so last time we had a weapon system working. And that is pretty much done now. We can pick up various weapons. We've got the sniper rifle, I can pick up a shotgun, I can pick up an Uzi, and I can also right click to switch between these things. So that's nice. This time I want to add an enemy that has a vision cone so that we can do some stealth type mechanics. Basically just an enemy that can detect you or not detect you. And that way, A, you will have the tools you need.
We Metal Gear, baby.
If you want to. And then also B, I have an idea of how to mash those 2 things together, but I'm curious to see if it will work. Basically I'm thinking about a game where there's a stealth phase and an action phase, but you have to do both. Because one of the problems with blending stealth and action is that you end up doing a lot of work to make 2 games, and then the player really only does one of them if they're a stealth player, because as soon as you get detected, you just give up or reload. So we want to fix that. I'm just going to delete all our enemies, because the big cube enemy, that enemy type is not really going anywhere, in that it's not getting interesting. It is going somewhere, and I've deleted it. And I'm just going to create a new one. And I'm going to do something we should have been doing all along, really, but I didn't. Which is to create an empty game object first. We did this for our enemy spawner, we did it for our weapons, and ideally we should have done it for our player and our enemy, but we didn't.
Okay.
I didn't want to overcomplicate it at that point. I'm just going to call it guard, and it's empty so we can't see it. We should be in scene view so that we can at least see where the anchors are and stuff. I'm just going to change this Y coordinate to 1. Is that right? Does 1 look like it's on the floor? No, it's not on the floor, is it? It should be 0.5, which is really dumb.
Yep.
Yeah, that's on the ground. I wonder if... Let's change our ground level. Okay, this is a bit drastic. But, okay, I put the guy on the floor. I'm just going to select everything. Can I do that? I'm just going to Control A. Oh, I can't move them all at once, though. I can move nearly all of them at once. I'm curious as to which thing stops me. Oh, the canvas, of course. Canvas is like a UI thing, so... what I want to do is, like... You can drag them all like that, but I can't see what the value is. Or can I?
Tom.
Is that going to work?
Tom, please.
Why is the player in the ground now? Didn't I move everything all at once? Okay,
Tom.
forget that. Sorry.
Yes, please. I'm erasing it from my
The
mind.
ground
It's gone.
down. So the issue is like the ground is at 0. It sounded logical at first, but it actually has height, and the 0
Yes,
is the
this
middle
has
of
been
the
a problem this
and
whole
so height
time.
extends 0.5 units up from there, and that means everything else has to try and line itself to 0.5, which is silly. I'd like it to be 0, and therefore I should just put the ground at 0.5, minus 0.5. And actually, if I just do that, everything's fine because these walls are tall enough that that's not creating a problem. You can move all these walls down as well if you like, but I am fine with that. I don't really need the weapon.
Everything's
to be
hovering
lower.
now.
I will move the player down to 0.5. So his coordinate will be weird because we didn't use an empty game object before creating him. We could do that, but I'm not going to do it right now because it's distracting. So now our guard can just be at 0, and that'll be exactly on the ground. And then I'm going to, I think visually they should look like a cylinder, which is a kind of...
Lordy. Tom. Tom. Do I want to do all this? God. I guess I can. Maybe put it at not 0.5. Okay. Of course, that makes me want to fix everything else. So now... Oh, well, then they sit weird in the ground, though, because it's... buddy. Buddy. I don't know. It's whatever. Can't help myself now. I gotta do it now. Seems like 0.2 is good enough for the weapons. Oh, right, the player's fucked up. It's not... Excuse me. That made me swallow air doing that sound. Fucking fine. My enemy spawner. I need to fix the thing where my enemies float down. I thought he would address that at some point. But he super didn't. And that's just how it is now. You know? Oh, I suppose. Oh, yeah. All right, let's undo what I just did. Oh, we can just do one. The actual spawn point is up in the air. Oh, that, yeah, right. That's relative. Oh, that looks perfect. Let's see what I've done. Let's see how I've broken and ruined my game. This seems fine. I think we're good. Except for, well, we didn't add a whole shitload of shotguns. I'm very excited to see if he ever learns that this happens. But this is, I feel better about this now. Because I knew that there were all these, like, height issues with everything. Yeah, if they spawn in the ground a little bit, they're just going to pop up onto the floor, which is not terrible. Because it's spawning the center of them too, right? Yeah, I feel like maybe it's not super necessary to do immediately, but for all of my stuff, I think I would set everything to make sure that it's like its pivot is on its feet. I mean, he said that that's what he was doing with tactical breach wizards, but then he sort of shrugged it off like, that's what I do in that game, but we're not going to bother right now. So, anyway, it's fine. All right, we're up to speed. Let's go.
Humanish shape.
Oh, we're not up
Cylinder's
to
like
speed
one
because he
between
started doing
I right-clicked
this.
on the guard when I created the cylinder, which means it's a child of the guard, and that means the guard can stay at 0, and anything to do with the cylinder's height that gets weird or complicated will just
Oh
be on
god,
that.
is my guard still where he's supposed to be? Thanks for sending us on that acid trip there, Tom. Always good. No, it's not where it's supposed to be. Is now everything's supposed to be at 0 for its bottom. And then now we're going to create a cylinder. And the cylinder is going to be at what? 1? Yeah. Okay, so since we created the game object first, that does the whole like pivot at the feet thing for us. That's nice. Good. Great.
And
Fantastic.
what else does it need? It needs a enemy behavior. I'm going to modify enemy behavior. Leave the speed of leave the speed of 0 for now actually. Enemy behavior, they'll need a rigid body, which is the sort of physically part that lets them move. And a health system, because otherwise we're not health. We need like 10 health. A health system needs a reference to the health bar prefab, which is down here. Drag that in. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, this card is going to behave differently to other enemies, and for now, I'm just going to modify our enemy behavior. I'm going to change it in ways that suits the guard and doesn't suit the previous mindless kind of enemy type. We are going to keep that mindless kind of enemy type.
What about the death effect?
The behavior we're about to make has a lot in common with them, and the behavior we're about to make is more complex. And so I want the enemy class to support that kind of complexity, and then when we come to restore the mindless enemy type, we will make a kind of subclass of enemy that just doesn't have some of the special features of this one. All of which is just to sort of prep you for the fact that we are going to break our old enemies for the time being, and that might seem like a weird way to do it. We could just copy and paste the enemy script to make a whole new one that suits this. You can do it that way. It's just that then if you change things about, let's dig into enemy behavior. If we change things about like how it seeks the player, things like that, that's the kind of behavior that we want to be shared between a guard and a mindless enemy. The guard should only do it when they know where you are. The mindless enemy is going to do it all the time. They're going to, those enemies will be flooding in when the alarm has gone off, so everyone knows where you are at that point. So yeah, all this code is them seeking towards you and checking whether the player's null, and when they touch you, it hurts you. All that stuff is going to be common to both, but a new enemy is going to have some extra functionality. And basically, it's easier. You kind of want your... Well, we'll get into parent classes and extending things and subclasses and stuff when we get to it. For now, we're just making the enemy class more complex, and because of that, I'm just going to go to our enemy spawner and disable it. I don't want it to spawn the enemies yet. We could have spawned guards, but that's kind of weird. My idea for the basic sort of format of our game is you'll start in an area with some guards looking for you, and you'll try and steal some weapons, and then if and when they detect you, all the mindless enemies will flood in, and then you have to go the action game from then on. And if you manage to get all the weapons without being detected, then you just open fire, and you trigger that onslaught. Your goal is to actually have the onslaught happen and wipe them all out.
Lovely.
That's roughly what I have in mind. So, what does the guard need? I want to put a light on them. So I'm going to right-click and go to light, and spotlight. Yes.
Okay.
And that'll be created with 0, 0, which is kind of nice. I do want it to be in him. I'm going to move up a tiny bit. And its intensity is not very bright yet. If I increase that, you'll start to see it on the ground. Let's get the camera above it so you can see. And this light is going to represent the vision cone. So in gameplay logic terms, we want the enemy to be alerted if the player enters their cone of vision. The light is not going to do that. The light is not going to detect anything, or it's just a light is just a visual effect, so it's not going to have any gameplay logic attached to it. But it's going to represent where the vision cone is. We need to communicate to the player where this enemy can see. And the nice thing about doing that with a light is that you get occlusion for free. So if there's something in the way, the light will be stopped by the object, and so will the guard's vision, and so those things will stay in sync. If you try and draw it as a UI element, and you try and draw your own cone or sprite on the ground, that kind of occlusion gets tricky. It's a more advanced thing to do. I wouldn't want to do it in a tutorial. So light is a nice, cheap shorthand for this. And also just looks cool. Dynamic lights.
Yeah.
If you've had like hundreds and thousands.
Yeah, it feels like it's been a long time coming.
We're going to have like 8 guards in a room.
I'm into it. I'm super into it. I want to stick to it.
It's very narrow, isn't it, for a vision cone? Spot angle is going to be the thing that changes that. And something like that looks pretty good to me. It's also a little bit hard to see just because the whole scene is so bright. So we can take our scene came with a directional light. It's a bit confusing because I would intuitively want to call that a directional light, and then there's this thing that's illuminating the whole scene. I'd call that like a global light. That's not what it's called. Directional light actually means the light is coming from one direction. That sounds really facile. But what it means is like the left side of everything will be light, and the right side of everything will be dark, no matter where they are. Whereas a light that has a specific source is going to not have that. I think that's right.
Whoa.
Anyway, our scene came with a directional light for free. It's kind of just like the sun, basically. And we can just turn it off completely. I wonder, let's just try reducing its intensity. So if we let it be like 0.18. I quite like that because then we still get some shadowing. If it's gone completely, then yeah, you still do get some shadowing, but it might just be nice to kind of pick things out a bit better. Now, what would happen if we just ran the game right now? Let's try it. Okay. The guard does not move in any way. Oh, now they do. And now they're spinning. Oh, that's because I just brushed into them. I can knock them around.
Huh.
Yes, I am the Lord.
Just a few months.
Oh, I must not. I didn't set something. Viking, thank you for 82 months. Oh, I didn't set his health to anything. I don't know what Tom set it to, but I set it to 4, I guess. There we go. Right, so nothing's happening, and that's expected. we gotta lock that rigid body down, Tom. I'm assuming that he's already done that. He just did that,
okay.
yeah.
That is interesting. They're not moving because they have no speed. And then the other thing is that currently enemies don't face the player. So because our other ones were just kind of rolling physics objects, we didn't try and change their directionality. So even though you could tell they were coming for you because they were coming for you, and that gave them, you could read the direction from the direction of movement, but actually they were never turning to face us. We didn't make them do that. But we can. We know how to do it, right? It's transform.lookat. It's going to be the player's position we're going to look at, but now that I think of it, we're going to be using player's position a lot. So I'm going to define, up here, just before we say vector to player, I'm going to define a new vector 3, and just call it player position. And that is going to equal distinct references.theplayer.transform.position. It's a 4-element term, and although hopefully we will understand what this says, it's all familiar stuff, it's just very long, so I just want to shorten that by saving it to a variable that we can then use. And now, like, even this part is more readable now, right? It's vector to player is player position minus our position. And transform.lookup, player position. So rather than have to write out that 4-element term again, I can just use that, and we're going to use that a lot more, so it will pay off. So hopefully that will have them just sort of look at us.
That was all a bit fast, but I think I know what he did. We're just gonna do that. I think is that all he did?
But we can. We know how to do it, right? It's transform.lookat.
Oh, right, he did the actual...
It's going to be the player's position we're going to look at, but now that I think of it, we're going to be using player's position a lot. So I'm going to define, up here, just before we say vector to player, I'm going to define a new vector 3, and just call it player position. And that is going to equal distinct references.theplayer.transform.position. It's a 4-element term, and although hopefully we will understand what this says, it's all familiar stuff, it's just very long, so I just want to shorten that by saving it to a variable that we can then use. And now, like, even this part is more readable now, right? It's vector to player is player position minus our position. And transform.lookup, player position. So rather than have to write out that 4-element term,
he's sinking.
And we're going to use that a lot more, so it will pay off. So hopefully that will have them just sort of look at us.
He's sinking into the ground.
Yeah.
Well, my guard sinks, Tom. My floor is quicksand. He's getting faster and faster. Or maybe he isn't. Why is he so hard to hit? Oh no. Yeah, I gotta say that's not correct. It's fine now. Oh. Oh. See, that hit sent him up in the air. Well. I turned off the freeze rotations because I thought they would be bad. Before we see how Tom addresses this, let's go ahead and see if that actually does the trickeroony. It seems right. That seemed to do it. Yeah. Yep. Now he's stuck to the floor. Okay, that was all that was necessary.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah, the fact that I can knock them over like this is... Oh, that hurts me to do that. Shall we... Let's freeze their position and rotation in some axes. So if you remember, they need to be able to rotate around Y. That's the pole going through their head, like on a carousel. So freeze rotation in the other two dimensions, and then freeze position in Y. I don't actually know if that stops us from knocking
Immediately
around.
addressed it.
I don't know which thing takes priority. No, it doesn't. Well, never mind. It's worth doing anyway, because we don't want their own motion to have them fall over or anything. So we should do that. Okay, what is next? So I would like to... Let's get the actual detection logic in. First, so we can see it a bit better. This is roughly where the game camera is, right? If I switch to game, yeah. I'm just going to move the enemy a bit closer to the camera. One day we'll have a camera that moves with the player and makes sure everything is always in focus, but for now, let's just do it this way. And in the enemy code, let's just do... I want some public floats to represent, so that we can tweak how big their vision cone is and its dimensions. So public float, let's say vision range, and public float vision cone angle. And is that everything? Yes, for now. And now all this code actually says follow the player. We don't want to do that.
Just catch up to him real quick. We're doing this in enemy behavior. Oh, that's explosion behavior. I probably don't need explosion behavior open, huh? Or the enemy spawner, or weapon behavior, or health bar. I also don't need these. These are nothing now. Float range. Floats vision cone angle. And we can continue.
Unless we detected them. So let's write this. Let's give ourselves a boolean for alerted. Public bool alerted. So we've used bools before, right? Bool is short for boolean, which means a yes or no value, true or false.
We absolutely haven't used bool
start,
before during this tutorial, but I know what they do.
So hopefully that all makes sense so far. We haven't used vision cone yet, and this means the reason I did that is so that I can now say if alerted, then we'll follow the player, but
like not in defining one anyway.
So if we're not alerted, we should look for the player, and to do that, we want to know. First of all, I'm going to move this player position and vector to player. Those are going to be useful, so I'm going to move them up here. So when you declare a variable, its scope, the realm in which you can use it, is where you defined it. So if I define it within that if statement, I'm just going to go back to how it was. When it's defined in there, I can't use it here. If I start saying player, no, doesn't want to complete, doesn't know what I'm talking about, because we defined it in here, so it can only be used in here, in that highlighted area that I just highlighted.
Yep.
And actually I want to use it in both branches, whether you're alerted or not, it's going to matter where the player is. So before we get to alerted, let's define it out there. And in fact, that's a perfect place for it, because that's right after we checked whether the player even exists. And so as soon as it does, we get those useful variables we're going to use in the place.
No, I haven't looked at the description. Thank you. Let me take a look. Realized afterwards I forgot to deal with the bug. It's possible to get... Yep. Yes. We'll fix it in a future episode. Okay. Cool. Bueno, dude. Bueno, thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, that's the same bug.
It's kind of nicer as well, just because it's follow code now. It's just 3 lines. We've separated out things that aren't actually the follow code. And in fact, let's simplify even more while we're at it. This rigid body thing, there's no reason to be establishing a reference to our rigid body every update, right? We're in update here.
Oh God, we've
start.
Okay,
so
things have really
I'm going to
changed.
paste that up there. That doesn't quite work because rigid body does not exist in this context because we declared it in start. That means it only exists in start. So we want to declare it up top. I'm going to copy this. Just put it there. We don't need to set it there, and then in start we set it to our rigid.
Calm down, Tom. Jesus Christ. You're on fire right now, bud. You're like 1.5x your usual self. Oh. Okay, so we're doing that too? Alright. I assume. I don't know if he copied that for fun. Probably not. Oh, okay, I see. I see. You put that up here. Like that. Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. That is nicer. Okay. I think... Yes, I'm all caught up now. Oh, wait. Almost. Now I'm caught up.
Rigid body equals get component rigid body. Okay, so now
Right,
follow code is
okay.
only 2 lines, which is very nice. It's quite satisfying doing this. And if we're not alerted, that's when we want to get into looking for the player. So let's do it as contact. Look for... Oh, actually, we're not looking for the player. We are checking if we can see the player. There won't necessarily be a searching behavior. We might do that, but we're not doing that just yet. And if we're already alerted, I think the rule's going to be once they're alerted, they'll just seek you forever, no matter how you hide. So we don't need to worry about...
I think you're
once
quite
you're alerted,
delayed,
keep
Food,
looking for the player,
possibly.
keep checking for the player.
Maybe.
You're always going to know where they are.
What's your delay right now?
So, first thing to check is the player in range? We've got a vision range. We want to know if vector3.distance, we can call the vector3 hotline and ask it for the distance between 2 points, and we're going to ask it for the different distance between our position and player position. And what we're interested in is that less than or equal to our vision range? So that pointer bracket is less than.
Okay.
And in case you need a reminder, it's less than because the left side of it is smaller and the right side of it is bigger. It goes that way. I don't know, it's mirroring of the camera. I mean, that's probably wrong, but the side that's smaller is the side that you're checking is smaller. And then the equals after it is just so that if it's exactly at the vision range, we do detect it. It doesn't really matter whether you have that equals there or not, but it's just sort of... I do it because in my head, if you say, I can see 10 meters and I'm standing 10 meters away from you, I think you should be able to see me, rather than not being able to see me. But it's the threshold. What's next? We want to know, are they in our vision angle? We want the angle between 2 vectors. And a vector, remember, can be a position, or it can be like a line in space.
The good old days of huge latency.
So, like my arm is a vector right now. And
just a few months ago. Remember 45-minute latency?
That doesn't really make any sense. We want the angle between our forward direction and the direction to them. So I'll do it facing the camera. Let's say we are facing this way. You're looking at the scene from above. I don't know what I'm doing. Like we have a very visual medium here that I could be using. Let's use that instead. So the question of whether or not the enemy has detected the player is a question of this blue arrow is forward. Remember, Z is forward. So we want to know what is the angle between that blue arrow and the line that would go from us to them, from us to the player. So a line there, which I can't draw easily, but I did have a little drawing program, didn't I? I haven't started that up. And so in this case, what does that angle look like? It looks like maybe 30 degrees. So once that line is 30 degrees off, we would detect them. We don't need to know what that exact number is yet. We're going to tweak that while we're playing so that we can make it match the light exactly. But yeah, that's what we're interested in, the angle between our forward and the angle to the player, which is going to vary. And we actually already have a variable for the vector to the player. So that's one of the things we need. And the other one is just our forward vector. So if vector3, we call the vector3 hotline again, and this time we're asking for an angle, and it's the angle between our transform.forward, that's our blue arrow, and the vector to the player. Oh, we have to actually check something, don't we? Is that less than or equal to our vision cone angle, which will be set in the inspector? And if it is, then alerted equals true, and the enemy is going to look at us at that point. I guess let's just test that. It's not the most useful way to test the values. Once we get to tweaking the values, we're going to do something different because I want to be able to... this is not ideal for testing right now because after they've seen us, they can always see us. And so as soon as we go into the vision cone, we're going to... we can't check whether we left it or not. So right now, nothing happens at all. And we know what that is, don't we? Because we didn't set any values. So let's give it a vision range of like 10. And I reckoned the angle was 30, didn't I? And now let's see... Hey, at roughly the right time, they started tracking us. And so this is what I was saying about why this is not a great setup for testing. It's nice that it worked, but now I can't tell. That looked to me like it was a bit late to detect me, but now I can't tell. Was it a bit late? Was it just imagining it? And I can tweak this value, but it's too late. It no longer has any effect. So for testing, I just want the enemy to tell us whether they're seeing us currently or not, and tell us if they're no longer seeing us. I don't want them to look at us, and yeah, I just want some visual feedback. And actually, I think we should have some visual feedback anyway for when an enemy has seen you. Their vision cone should turn red, at least, and that would be a nice thing.
Okay.
So, if we want to turn our light red, we should get a reference to our light. So we need a public light, my light. And we'll set that in the inspector in a minute. And then what I'll do is, I think just right up top here, we'll say mylight.color equals color.white. I don't think we dealt with color before, but color is another hotline like vector 3. You can just call it up and say, give me the reference for white. And yeah, the light it'll just be a reference to that light. And once you have a reference to light, you can change the color, which is nice. And so when you see us, let's make it color.red. And for now, I'm just going to make this a comment so it doesn't do anything, just so that we always run this code. I don't want that code to stop running while we're testing this. Let's see if that works. Nope, because I didn't set a reference to the light, did I? I said I'd do it, and I didn't, which is what I do every time. Okay, so under our guard, where we created the spotlight, we can drag that over to the light slot that we created. So, yeah, so that word light there, that's why we use the word light when we define this variable.
Okay.
Now. Okay, yep. I forgot another thing, didn't I? When I set those vision range and vision cone angles, I hadn't played the game yet, so those were changes made at runtime, and those are not saved when you stop playing, which is annoying, but I remember what they were. So we'll make them outside. In a minute, we're going to make this into a prefab, and then we'll just edit the prefab in future. Okay, that's not bad, actually, is it? Yeah, he should be seeing us there. And so actually, what we can do is, if we moved, like, what's the edgiest place that they should see us? That they should see us. It's the furthest out of their vision cone window where it makes sense that they would see us. I think that looks like they should detect us. So I'm going to stand there, and then I'm going to drag. So you can click on the word and drag left or right to increase or decrease this thing. I'm going to keep dragging right until it goes red. And once it does go red, going to go back a bit until it goes white, and then find that threshold is right around there. It's 34.6, and I said this was a detection angle, so I'm going to make it detect us. And now, what about range? How's our range doing? The range is too high, isn't it? That's, man, for what we're seeing there, you'd be a bit peeved if you got spotted at that range. So, where would be a good range to get spotted from? I might actually try and increase this intensity a bit. The intensity down here, just so we can tell where it ends better. That's extremely strong, but that's good to err on the side of clarity. And now it's much clearer. Oh, in fact, that's pretty bang on what we have, isn't it? I'm going to say, you can actually see me catching the light as I move into it. That's kind of cool.
Oh, here.
I'm going to say that this range is the closest at which I should be seen. Before then, I shouldn't be seen. And go back to our guard. And remember, all the changes we're making at runtime, so as soon as I stop playing, I'm going to lose all this. I don't want to lose all this, so I'm going to show you how you don't. So I'm going to drag this down until it's not detected, and then put it right on that threshold. I reckon that's about right. Okay, now we've got these values set up nicely. This is a really good time to make the prefab, because you can do that at runtime just like you can when you're not running the game. So you just drag guard to our project folder, and now the prefab has all those values we just set. So we would actually lose them on the instance we were playing with, but I'm just going to delete that now because we don't need it. And then just drag the guard prefab back into the scene, and here they are. Oh, that's interesting. Their light is currently red because they were red at the time we made the prefab. That's fine. And that is working pretty nicely. Okay, so we haven't actually done occlusion.
Hold on. So while the game is running, to save the settings, made the prefab of the guard. and then deleted that guard. Yep, seems to be the case. That's pretty cool. I'm amazed that this works so easily. Intensity is a bit much. Actually, I'll leave it alone. I'll leave it at 300. Well, actually, not really good.
vision yet. I was talking about, like, a nice thing about light is blocked by things that block light, and so is vision. We haven't done that yet, and we're not going to do that this episode because it's a little bit more complicated. The visual side of it is easy, but then the actual detection of how does the code know whether something's blocking line of sight, that will get us into layer masks and things. So I'll save that for another episode. But there's more to do here as well, isn't there? Our enemy is not reacting much at the moment. Now that the values are correct, we could allow them to see us. I think I will keep the color logic the same. We could make it so that it's red all the time they've seen you. That would be important in a game where, we might do that anyway, eventually, but that would be most important in a game where individual enemies have different knowledge. In our game, I think once you're rumbled, everyone will know where you are. And that's just a simpler model for us to work with. And yeah, just while we're working with vision cones, I like being able to tell whether the enemy thinks they're seeing me currently or not. I guess let's just test this. We just restored the the alerted thing, which is going to restore the lookout behavior. Huh. They do look at me, but it's not going red anymore when I'm in their vision. Oh, I know why, because the detection code only runs if we're not alerted. So actually, maybe I can change my mind on this and just let it be red if we're alerted. We could run the detection code either way, even when you are alerted, but because, like I say, we're not going to let you lose heat. We're going to make it so that you detect it forever. That is not how we'll do it. Okay, cool. That's working. We do have, let's just make a couple more guards. I've selected the guard. Oh, I'm going to select him now, and I'm in their vision. Oh, I know why, because the detection code only runs if we're not alerted. So actually, maybe I can change my mind on this and just let it be red if we're alerted.
Yeah, that makes sense. If alerted. Assessed it. Cool. Oh, these are actually moving fast enough to subvert. Yeah. They they move so fast that they actually go through the wall because they're not using continuous collision detection. They're using discrete, so they can just zip straight on through. Sometimes, it's looking like most of the time.
We could run the detection code either way, even when you are alerted, but because, like I say, we're not going to let you lose.
So the vision code it uses a spotlight for the visual, and then the detection of whether you've entered the cone is down here. So if our distance between our position, or the guard's position, and the player's position is less than or equal to the vision range, which we set on the guard, and if our angle vector to the player is less than or equal to the vision cone angle, then we have seen the player. And we set up the player position and the vector to player up here. So we just grab the position. We do player position minus transform position. So that's a vector aligned from the guard to the player. Yeah, just a mathematical cone. Yep.
Heat. We're going to make it so that you detect it forever. That is not how we'll do it. Okay, cool. That's working. We do have, let's just make a couple more guards. I've selected the guard. I'm going to select him now and do Control D. duplicate, and do it again. Now I got 3. And so yeah, they do have individual detection, but yeah, it's kind of cool. So let's now from now on we've got to be careful about we edit the guard prefab, not the guard instances, because we've got a bunch of them. Actually, it's kind of good to make a bunch of them just so it's easier to remind yourself that you shouldn't edit the instance in the scene, because you can see obviously that would be bad. Let's give them a speed of 2 for now. See how that feels. Nothing happens at all.
Why are his not moving?
Do the instances have...
Strange.
No, they all have speed 0. That's interesting. But when I stop the game, they have speed 2.
Ha!
Okay, that was just a weird temporary glitch.
I need to see what I did
fully
there.
save the prefab, I guess, at the time I started the game. Okay, so now when they... once they know where I am, they start to follow me. That's cool. So the game, the sort of first stage of the game that I envision...
Why is he spinning around?
You should be trying to steal these weapons from under these guards.
Did that knock him in the air a bit?
Gosh, that's the rifle. That takes a while to kill him. Got a lot of health. Shotgun's a bit better.
I guess it collided with him and caused him to spin because he's not locked on.
Alright, cool. So the only other thing
that
I want to do
axis.
this episode is we need some kind of idle behavior, right? Because
Alright, sorry, let me see what
these
he
vision
was.
cones right now because they're static. If they're not on the weapon, then it's trivial to take the weapon. If they are on the weapon, it's impossible to take the weapon. The game that I envision is that do the instances have... No, they all have speed 0. That's interesting. But when I stop the game, they have speed 2. Okay, that was just a weird temporary glitch. Unity had not fully saved the prefab, I guess, at the time I started the game. Okay, so now when they... once they know where I am, they start to follow me. That's cool. So the game, the sort of first stage of the game that I envision is that you should be trying to steal these weapons.
Holy shit, is it that late already?
Gosh, that's the rifle. That takes a while to kill him. Got a lot of health. Shotgun's a bit better. And Uzi's not great. Alright, cool. So the only other thing I want to do this episode is we need some kind of idle behavior, right? Because if these vision cones, right now because they're static, if they're not on the weapon, then it's trivial to take the weapon. If they are on the weapon, it's impossible to take the weapon. We'd rather they were sort of roaming in some way. We don't want to go too deep on this yet, because like proper AI, and I think I can envision a system where there's just patrol points and the enemies move between them in some intelligent way. That's beyond the scope of this episode. For now, I just want them to, at the very least, rotate. I would like them to sort of scan like a lighthouse, and that way there's some dynamic element to the level.
Okay.
And that would only be if they're not alerted, right? If they're not alerted, we would want them to look for the player, but also rotate. And our code for facing, let's say rotate here. Our code for facing is this transform.lookat thing, and we give that a position. So what position should they look at if we want them to rotate? I would say it is, if we tell them to look at a spot just ahead of them, that would be their position plus their forward vector. It would be, I'll write it out because it will form part of what we do. If I can ever select this line. Transform.position plus transform.forward, that just tells us to look in the direction we're already looking, so that doesn't do anything by itself. But that's the kind of statement we want. Like, to make us turn right, what if we looked at the spot ahead of us plus a bit in the right direction, which would be plus transform.right. So we're always going to look at a spot that's just to our right. Let's see. I know that's not good yet, but I want to see what it looks like. It's a bit fast. You'd be hard pressed to make it through those vision cones. I mean, that's actually optimal guard strategy. I don't know why guards.
Yes, very optimal. Oh, beautiful, excellent. I love it.
In other stealth games, don't do this because it really rumbles you as a player. So there is no speed to this. So it's actually to control the speed, I would control. This is going to happen every update, whether we like it or not. Is what I was going to say. I mean, we've told it to, so it's going to. What I want to do is scale the offset. So right now, our offset, if I do like
General Grievous, yeah.
Let's call it lateral offset. It's just transform.right, and that's a vector going to our right, and it's of length 1, so it's a meter to our right. So every frame, 60 times a second perhaps, we are looking a meter to our current right, and of course that changes the direction, our forward direction, which also changes our right direction, and we spin around wildly. We want the spinning, but we just don't want it to be quite that fast. So at the very least, we need to multiply by time.delta time. That will compensate for how fast update is running. Now it won't be frame rate dependent, or not as frame rate dependent. And I think we also want to be able to vary this. Let's have a public float for it.
I thought
Public float turn speed.
Oh, we're fine.
Times turn speed. And that, I will remind myself,
He did that where? Fuck.
Have a public float for it. Public float turn speed.
I think he probably did it to the... Yeah.
Times turn speed. And that, I will remind myself, will do nothing at all yet because our guard does not have, has their turn speed set to 0. So let's increase it to 1. In the prefab, not in any of the scenes. And nothing happens. Is this the same damn problem where the instances, the instances didn't get changed in the prefab. I think what I'm doing is if I edit the prefab and I make a change and I immediately click play, it does save. As you can see, turn speed is 1, but I feel like it's compiling the game and saving the prefab thing at the same time, and it's kind of up to chance which thing happens first. So I'll actually change this from 1 because I want to fix my process. Let us test if I click away from it. I think that makes it save. I think if I haven't even clicked away from the field, it hasn't saved at that point, and if I click play then, that's a problem. So let's just try clicking play then. I don't think I need to exit. Yeah, okay. And let me just check that is 2 and not 1. Yeah, they've all got 2. Okay, so if you're editing a field in a prefab, click away from it before you click play, that's very easy to do. Okay, that's probably a bit fast, isn't it? 1 probably was correct. Open the prefab, by double clicking, turn speed 1, and now click away.
Yes,
that's annoying.
I
If you
am
click on
the
the
Lord.
window title,
That's a lot of fucking
months.
months. Hell yeah.
If I click on the scroll bar, it doesn't.
Hell yeah, Benny, thank you for
Windows, probably
Nintendo
can't see the
64 months.
Actually, you don't have an animation window there. I've just set that up. Basically, I set up some dead space in my Unity layout so that my face doesn't obscure anything you actually need to see. Alright, I don't have any good advice for where you should click after changing a field like that to ensure it saves, but somehow... I guess, what happens if I just hit Control-S? Let me test that. Doing some live discovery here. I hit Control-S, the cursor didn't disappear. Well, that looks like 5, doesn't it? Okay, you just hit Control-S. I'm going to hit Control-S now as well, because I noticed our scene wasn't saved. Okay, yeah. After changing a value in the prefab, hit Control-S. Alright, but 5 is bad. What else do we want to do? I was thinking about having them move a little bit. Now, like I say, some kind of patrol point system is probably what we want ultimately. I don't want to do that just yet. So instead, we could just have them move. What happens if they just... So, for following the player, we did average body velocity is the vector of the player normalized times speed. What if we just wanted to move in the direction we're facing? Well, then instead of the vectors of the player, we can just use our transform.forward, our forward direction, times our speed. So this should mean they walk in circles, right?
Okay.
Yeah, yep, that one's seen me. So it's not great AI. Don't know if you're aware of this, but it's not bad actually because so the most common problem with any kind of really simple wandering AI is that they bump into a wall, and if you don't specifically detect walls, then they're going to keep bumping into that wall for a long time. Why does that one lose his light for a bit? Is he tilting? Maybe he's tilting. I want to check something actually. When they are looking at me, they're... Oh yeah, so freeze rotation, their X rotation is tilted. So when we're telling them to look at us, that's overriding the rigid body's constraints. I don't really want them to tilt like that. Maybe we can fix that since we're basically done, and I didn't feel like particularly... I felt like quite a short episode. Let's see if we can stop them from tilting, because... Yeah, we can. What I'm going to do...
Where do you do the movement thing? Here.
Because our enemy, sorry, our guard...
I'm going to just make sure that that was fine. I'm sure it was. Yep. Good job, boys. Good job. Nailed it. Oh, they're permanently up. Okay. There we go. Yeah, they were too close to the wall, so they just fucking die. It's alright. It's fine.
We've created them with this new rule that we create an empty game object first and we put it at 0y. Actually, we don't even need to depend on that. What we can do, if we want to only look horizontally, then rather than looking at the player's true position, which could be anything, the player could be jumping, not that the player can jump right now, but we might add that. So what we really want to do is just say, let's create a new vector 3. Call it, if I call it player horizontal position, or player ground position? Yeah, player ground position. Not strictly true, but what I really mean is it's the player's position at our height. Why don't I just call it that? Player position at our height. Why not? I don't care about long variable names. And we're creating a new vector from component parts in this case. So we do new vector 3, and then in brackets, we're going to give it 3 numbers, an x, y, and a z. And the x is going to be player position.x. The y, instead of using their y, we're going to use our y, because that's what we are talking about. We want to know where are they on our level. Forget that they're not on our level. Pretend that they are, and just give me the x and z coordinates. So use our y coordinate, but their x and z. And then we'll look at that instead of looking at the player position. Yeah. Because I think that's why we lost the vision cone. I think he dipped. Okay, well, we certainly didn't break anything. Yeah, that's alright. And I can nudge him and stuff, and it's not breaking the vision cone. We do still lose the vision cone sometimes, don't we? Not totally sure why that is. So that the problem I just fixed is not... problem I just fixed is not the one that was causing the vision cone to disappear. Don't know what that is yet. But what I do want to check is just, once I've got them all following me, let me just verify that I did fix the problem I wanted to fix, which is, yeah, so before we were seeing an X rotation here on the guards. Now we're only seeing Y rotation. Y rotation is the carousel one. It's the one we want. Everything else is 0. So I did fix a problem. It wasn't a problem that had any actual consequence, but still good to fix. I'm just wondering whether we should... Yeah, I think let's fix a problem that I suspect we have with lighting, because it's not obvious how to fix it. So our arena has 3 walls at the moment. I don't remember why I got rid of the other wall. I'm going to put it back. And while I'm at it, I'm also going to duplicate a wall, and I'm just going to use this rectangle tool up here to scale it to some kind of just a thing that's going to obscure vision. Obviously, when we make proper levels, we're going to need stuff like this that blocks line of sight. We're not going to manage blocking line of sight today, but I do just want to create that. And then I'm going to... What's our ground material? Let's duplicate that. Control D again. And I'll call this... I don't know what, obstacle material, and all I'm going to do is just change its colour, basically. It could be green, and then go to this west wall to rename it to obstacle. I guess I should rename west wall 1 to east wall, because that's what it is. And I want this to have our new obstacle material. Okay, its only job is just to be seen. We just need to be able to see where it is. And I think we will have some problems.
Great. Material. I think you call it ground material. What's going on with you, Tom? What's happening? Sort of a green. Sure. Ta-da. You think there's gonna be a problem, huh?
Yeah, there's a problem. That light is shining right through it, isn't it? So, which guard is this? Can I click on them? It's guard 2. Let's look at their light, and I'm aware I'm making changes to an instance here, so I'm not going to apply, and I'm making it runtime, so it's not going to apply to the prefab or anything. But I just want to show what values we need to change here. So for one thing, shadow type is set to no shadows. Let's have hard shadows. Oh, that fixes it. But actually, there's a couple of other things here, and one of them is, I think, let me see. Okay, so this is like leaking under the thing a bit. Let me see if I reduce bias. Yeah. So I don't really know what that is. I don't know why you'd want that feature. But that bias bar, if you make that 0, you get cleaner, like more correct shadows. I mean, we want hard shadows. We don't want anything to leak. Even if you wanted light to leak, that did not look like... It wasn't like diffuse lighting, you know, where it fades out like it is on the other side. It was just wrong. It was just going through something when it shouldn't go through it. So that fixes that. I think that... And we'll make all these changes to the prefab as well. I'm just doing it at runtime so I can sort of see the effects. I think we will also have a problem where if they are too close to the thing... not really saying that. Let's see if we resize this. Yeah. So he's close to it. Oh, that's weird. In scene view, I'm not seeing it, but in game mode I am. Right? You can see the red is going through the thing. And I believe that near plane is the thing that fixes that. So if I reduce near plane to 0... To 0... No, it doesn't go to 0. You can have 0.09999. That has not fixed, has it? Oh, it's something else. Oh, okay. I don't really know what that one is then. It isn't the full strength thing going through it, it's just a kind of shadow of it going through it. Okay, well, it's clear enough which bits you're actually seeing. If anyone knows how to get rid of that ghost of a vision cone, I'd be interested in that. Maybe the light's going under the ground or something.
Oh, right, yeah.
But I think I have seen cases where the near plane at 0.2 causes it to shine straight through a subtle object, whereas at 0.1 it doesn't. So we shouldn't have any problems with the light actually being inside an obstacle because we put our light inside the enemy, right? Our light is not sticking out of us at all. We put it right inside us, and that was intentional. Yeah, it seems like if a light is inside of a collider, or sorry, not a collider, but a mesh renderer, it will shine out of it, no problem. The inside walls don't block light, but light coming in is blocked, I think. So let's just make those changes to our prefab. It was bias to 0 is the main one. Well, hard shadows, bias to 0, and reduce near plane as much as it will go. So we open up our guard, find their light, and where it says no shadows, we say hard shadows. Where it says bias 0.05, 0 please, and near plane as low as it will go. And then Control S to save, and play. Yeah, that's behaving reasonably well. Yeah, without those settings, obviously we weren't getting any shadows at all. Yeah, I've mentioned this a few times now, we don't actually have any code to stop them seeing us through walls. It just looks like they can't see us through walls, or at least the light doesn't hit us through walls. But we'll deal with that next time. Okay, last time we made these enemies with vision cones, and in doing so we kind of broke our general enemy class. Our little dumb enemies no longer work, I believe, so we're going to fix that today. I also have a couple of things I need to fix that people pointed out.
What is going on with your audio in this video?
Somebody has had a bug where you can pick up the shotgun multiple times from the same shotgun, and it's because the way we do pickups is on a collider, and when you enter that
there's that
collider,
thing.
the player collides with that collider, you pick it up. But the shotgun has 3 colliders on it, and they're all children of something that has a weapon component on it. So in theory, you can hit all 3 in one frame and trigger that 3 times. So that's not how it should work, is it? Let's fix that. The fix for that, I think, is just to let's have the collider be on the weapon itself, not on the child, because the child.
Okay. Well, so that's gonna happen now, which is cool. Although we are at the end of our evening. Yeah, that video doesn't sound like it has the best audio. Unfortunately. This is very much starting to feel like a game now, though, eh? We got switchable weapons with different models and a bit of a bug. We've got a little sort of level. We have light. We have semi-intelligent enemies that follow you, but only if alerted. And they've got a visual indication of having noticed you, which is cool. We can shoot them and they'll die. It's very cool. It's starting to get the feel here. I mean, there's a lot of a lot of the stuff I'm just typing what he says to type. And obviously I'm not fully understanding everything. I'm not really having a syntax issue. I'm having more of I'm going to have to practice a lot of the little things in terms of determining, like, if we want to find the angle of something or to something or the distance to something, and like really absorb the reasons why you do these certain things, because this sort of math and approach to things is very game specific, and it's not something I've really done much of anything with at all. So I don't really have those solutions pop up in my mind when I'm addressing, well, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? What do you mean rather than pop out? Oh. Yeah, it's just a difference. So in this tutorial, he just used scale because he thinks that that's a nice effect. And it is. It's fine. I think he also showed that you could do, like, opacity or whatever and have them fade away. I think typically what happens with bullets is that they nearly instantly disappear in most games upon collision with anything, is normally how bullets are done. Usually with some sort of an effect, like a spark or a ricochet or whatever. They usually leave a bullet dent or hole. So yeah. I mean, like a lot of games, they really don't do a physical bullet if they have bullets at all. In terms of, well, okay, and if they have guns, they don't necessarily have bullets, because what they would probably do, and it depends on the weapon too, but more often than not, if you're not going to do like a full ballistic system, you're going to shoot a laser. You're going to run a what's called a hit scan, which is you're casting a ray in the direction that the player was pointing when they pressed fire, and you're going to do all of the work as though there was a bullet, but there isn't actually a physical bullet traveling anywhere. It's just an instantaneous calculation. Like, what is this laser passing through? Is it passing through an enemy? Where did it pass through the enemy? Yada da 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 da. I think it's actually rare for there to be a full ballistics for everything, which would be like PUBG is a ballistics based shooter, so there is an actual bullet that travels rather than a hit scan. Arma is also a ballistics based shooter. No, you can see the bullet in PUBG, but not in all cases. You definitely can with the bolt weapons. Like if you fire a Car 98 and you hold down, you don't let up, it will stay in the scope, and you can actually see the bullet traveling, and you can see it hit. That helps actually a lot for figuring out, like, oh, okay, I didn't aim high enough or something. I don't think it actually creates a visible bullet for weapons like the M4 or the Uzi. I think what they do is they'll do tracers. So they'll make like random, like at a random interval, they'll make some of them visible. No, I think that's probably, I mean, it may not actually, I don't know if you can see other people's bullets. I can't remember. I don't know if you can actually see any tracers from other people. But you can in the observer, which makes me feel like you would see it from other players yourself as well, because it's doing it in the observer. You can turn them on and off though. So maybe it only does that in the observer, now that I think about it. But yeah, I think the vast majority of gun-like weapons in games are actually not ballistics based. They're not really physics based. They're like hit scan things. They don't actually draw a bullet. But it depends on the game, for sure. Like some games, seeing the projectiles is huge, right? Like Gungeon, Enter the Gungeon, you see all the bullets, right? Because it's kind of like a bullet hell type of game. So well, I can't speak to exact implementations, of course. I don't know. I feel like in Quake 3, as far as I know, the way the railgun works is literally a hit scan. Like it's just a line drawn from the moment you fire, so it's instantaneous. Basically, it would mean that it's faster than the speed of light. Because it just draws a line instantly, and anything that touches that line is affected in whatever way it needs to be by the hit scan. Yeah. So, yeah, I can't speak to exact implementations in anything because I have no experience at all. This is just like from a player. This is like, as a player of games, this is the extent of my knowledge of like how that sort of stuff is done. Because when you play a lot of shooter games, it's just something people talk about. You know, people learn what the implementations are, and then they're like, if you're just talking with people and you're like, oh man, why is that like that or like this or whatever, and someone will be like, oh well, that's because that one's a hit scan, you know, that kind of thing. So I'm not coming at it from like a game development perspective. Ah, so people have a misapprehension based off of a change that was made to a later game. So that made people think retroactively that Halo 1 and 2 were hit scan based. That's interesting. And projectile, by the way, doesn't necessarily. I was saying ballistics earlier, but ballistics is like a whole different thing. Like you can be projectile and hit scan, right? It's sort of a spectrum. So you could draw a line and then calculate the projectile going across that line, but that doesn't mean that you're going to have bullet drop or other physics effects, right? Like in PUBG, it's ballistics based, so there's every weapon has parameters that are trying to be realistic, right? So different weapons fire with different velocities, it's different amounts of power, and different bullets, they would behave differently in reality. So like a bolt action rifle is going to launch a projectile at a much higher speed, and it's going to be much more powerful, and it's also going to be a larger projectile, so it will travel farther, it'll hit harder. And they actually have those parameters in PUBG or Arma or any other game that's trying to do ballistics like that. Whereas, a lesser, like a pistol, is going to shoot a smaller bullet. It's going to be slower. It's not going to travel as far before it hits the ground. And it's not going to do as much damage. So it's all very interesting stuff. I don't know. I don't know anything about PUBG's implementation in terms of how they arrive at their ballistics simulation. Like when you fire a bolt action rifle, I don't know if it would draw a line or if it's literally. I think it's literally just waiting for the bullet to collide with something. It has to work that way. Because that's why you have lead time and stuff like that. Except for they don't simulate inertia, and we know that because of the glider, actually. Because when you fire from the glider, you don't have to lead your shots. No inertia is passed, at least when you're in a vehicle, no inertia is passed from being in a vehicle to the player to the bullet, which is incorrect behavior. Right. Well, and that depends on their physics simulation as well, and whether it's, because I would imagine that a game like PUBG or any other game that's trying to be like seriously competitive would account for that and try to make things as much the same on every client as possible and not dependent on things like the frame rate or whatever else, because they have to be consistent. And I know that PUBG gets a lot of shit, but I would say that if they weren't doing that, the game would not have had got as far as it did, because it would be noticeable and known. It would not have been able to even get off the ground, I feel, because people would have felt that being wrong when they were playing. So yeah, it would probably be pretty complex. I would doubt that it's just a built-in drop-in sort of thing that Unreal already had. I mean, I imagine that the basic framework was there, but I'm sure that they had to customize it to get to where it is. That could be. Maybe the bullet has a long collision box, but I feel like that sounds kind of hacky. I don't know if that sounds like a fix per se. Because like how long do you make the collision box that everyone's different frame timings fit within the collision box, right? I do like that I kind of understand what you're saying with that now though, because of having done some of this tutorial, and I understand like the fact that physics is gonna, that clock is always ticking, and if the clock if the movement is between two ticks, then it's not going to collide with anything. I detect sarcasm, Blockington. There's a difference between there's a difference between using assets for models. Okay, maybe you weren't being sarcastic. It was trying to certainly mimic Arma. And yeah, at a lower level, because PUBG is much more of an arcadey experience compared to Arma, but it's much more of a simulation experience compared to Call of Duty, I guess. Yeah. What's his name? What's his real name? It feels weird to call him Player Unknown. I think his first name at least is Brian. I don't remember his last name. But I mean, he did start that mod in Arma, and the rationale was exactly that, was for the ballistic style gunplay to be a part of the whole equation. Brian Brian's Battlegrounds. It could have been G G. Yeah, it's all very interesting stuff. Um, and I'm still super into this. I still really appreciate Tom's tutorial. I hope everybody cuts him some slack on the programming side and blah blah blah. I mean, just keep in mind that the whole idea with this is that it's baby's first game. Um, and I get the impression that he does know what he's doing, but it's sort of like, I think everybody makes little mistakes as they go, even when you're relatively a master, meaning like 10 years of experience and beyond or whatever. um I think everybody, just in the process of doing things, you forget stuff, you overlook things, da 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 da. But in terms of like me having never touched any of this shit before and not having ever written C# or anything like that, I love that he's walking through this and making those mistakes, actually, because I like seeing that and having the experience of finding that mistake and then fixing that mistake, that kind of thing. I think it's very good, and I just really like this a lot. This is just good. I thought that myself, Epio, and then I just decided, fuck it, I'm just gonna leave it for now. But yeah, I felt like the way you're doing everything else, you should really have that else on its own line. But it's not a huge deal. It's not a huge deal. At the end of the day, formatting or whatever, if you're not working with anybody else, especially, as long as it fucking runs and works, and it's fucking, who cares? Um, so, but yeah, this is fun. I think we're gonna do more tomorrow, if you're all cool with that. I guess it is dominating things a bit, but I'd like to keep going. I want to learn more. I want to get to where I can start experimenting with my own stuff, and definitely got a ways to go before I'm quite there. So, thank you all very, very much. I appreciate you being here. I will see you all tomorrow evening. Have a great night.